Should be pleased with his Bears 6-0 start. But this week has brought controversy with injured quarterback Jim McMahon. Walter Payton and other Bears want to look past the problems and concentrate on the job at hand. Shut down the Vikings like they stuffed them 2 weeks ago. Quarterback Tommy Kramer and head coach Jerry Burns would like to get even with the Bears for that loss 2 weeks ago. As the Vikings last week showed some offense against the 49ers, with Kramer taking the NFC lead in touchdown passes. But it came down to an overtime field goal by Chuck Nelson. And now the Vikings are back in the NFC Central race. A lot of the faces have changed in the last 25 years, but one thing has stayed the same. When the Bears and Vikings meet, it's a good old-fashioned rivalry. Second time in 2 weeks, it's the Bears and Vikings. This time for the Metrodome in Minneapolis. And obviously the weather is no factor today. Chicago, one of 2 unbeaten teams in the NFL, come into today's game with a 2-game lead over the Minnesota Vikings. Well, it's been another week of controversy, but this team seems to thrive on controversy. And it all centered around Jim McMahon and the acquisition of Doug Flutie. With me is Coach Hank Stram. And Hank, speaking of Jim McMahon, we don't expect to see him playing today.
I talked to him on the field before the game. He said, definitely, I don't want to play in a game unless I have to, but it doesn't mean to say that he won't in case he has to.
Tommy Kramer, on the other hand, the quarterback for the Vikings, hasn't said a lot this week, but he's hurting. He has a severely bruised chest just below the collarbone.
We watched them practice on Friday. He did not throw in a 2-minute offense. He did not throw at all on Saturday, and I talked to him before the game on the field, and he said he feels fine now, but he doesn't know what will happen once he gets it hit.
There is Kramer. Has had some brilliant moments. A 6-touchdown passing day against the Packers. Without Jim McMahon, well, the Bears have been a different football team. You can see they're averaging 32 points a game. Without Jim, missing 2 starting assignments, they have averaged 19 points a game. The Bears will be kicking off. That's Kevin Butler. Vikings will go back with Best, who's one of the outstanding kick returners in the National Football League this year. Been a big surprise. Butler coming into this game, kicking field goals in 13 consecutive games, which is a club record. Sellout crowd has been a tough ticket to get. And here comes Butler. Best will bring it out to the 25-30. Gets it out to the 36-yard line, and the Vikings will start from there. Thomas Sanders down there to make the stop after a 21-yard return. And Tommy Kramer will come in, leading them to victory over San Francisco last week in overtime. 326 yards passing. He'll face this forward wall. And Richard Dent is back. He feels he's healthy, but they're going to really test Steve McMichael. They feel they can run at him. And Tex is going to be ready to go on that situation. Al Harris starting in place of Wilbur Marshall has a calf problem. And Dave Durson playing as well as strong safety as anybody in the NFL. From the 36 now, Kramer with his first down, giving off inside, running to the ball is Allen Rice, number 36, to the 40-yard line. Gain of 3, 2nd and 7. Offensively, Kramer will hope that he can get Darren Nelson established, but he's been having a tough time. Only 14 yards in the last 15 carries. His offensive line is really paced by Gary Zimmerman. He's from the United States Football League, and Jerry Burns said he was as good as we'd hoped he would be. Second down now, 7 from the 40.
Gary, I think the last play they ran is indicative of what they're going to try to do most of the afternoon. They're going to try to run it at Michaels because they think he is so aggressive and he takes a course outside or inside, and as a result they'll let him go any way he wants to go and run the opposite way, and that's what happened on the very first play of the game on a draw play that made about 4 yards.
Steve Jordan, the tight end, firing off the mark, so it's going to be a penalty against the Minnesota Vikings.
Start. Offense 83, still second down.
There's a familiar face and voice of Jim Tunney in charge of this game. In the first possession in the first 4 games, here's what's happened. Touchdown, touchdown, missed field goal, and touchdown. So they've gotten off the mark very effectively this year.
The big thing with the Vikings today, they have to make sure they have security. And I'm not talking about guards outside the stadium. I'm talking about pass protection. And if they can pass block, they've got a chance to make some big plays.
Second down now, 11. That's Rice in motion. Give to Darren Nelson. Nelson finds the path. He's very close to the first down across the 45. William Perry dropped him there, and that's got to be encouraging to Minnesota.
There again, the same area. They're running to the right. This is a trap play with their left guard, Jim, with their left guard pulling on the play, Mark Bortz. And they pick up a nice gain on the play, but they pop through there nice and easy.
That is a first down, a 12-yard pickup by Darren Nelson. Jerry Burns said he's as courageous as any running back he's ever had. Darren not very big. He only weighs 189 pounds.
Well, the great thing about Nelson is the fact that he's one of the lightning guys. They have lightning on the outside with Jones, and they also have lightning with Lewis. And then, of course, they also have lightning with their fine running back.
And there's part of that you're talking about. Darren Nelson on the pass in the flat. That's another first down, a 15-yard pickup. Al Harris over to make the stop. And Minnesota very effectively now moving this football.
And the big guy, the big play guy, the home run guy in this Minnesota attack, really from a receiving standpoint, is A.C. Carter.
And Carter, they feel, is about 90% back after having arthroscopic surgery on his knee in September. Came back, played well, and as Gary Burns said, he adds a dimension to our attack.
And they call him Little Shimmy.
From the 40, make it the 38-yard line. First down now for the Vikings. This time it's Allen Rice. And the Baylor product gets nowhere on that play because Richard Dent was there. Richard told us yesterday he's back. He had some abdominal muscle problems that was slowing him a step or two, but he feels he's ready to go after everybody again.
Talking to the Minnesota coaches prior to the game, they indicated that they have great respect for Dent, both as against the run and also against the pass, but they feel he's probably a lot better pass rusher, and they felt maybe they could run at him a little bit. They tried that time and certainly didn't succeed.
Second down, 9 yards to go. Lewis split to the near side. Hassan Jones to the top. This is Lewis in motion. Kramer on the second and 9. He's got some time. He's got Alfred Anderson. Anderson to the 10, 5. He's in. However, there's a penalty flag at the 30-yard line.
He had man-for-man coverage that time.
Let's see what the penalty's all about, Hank. There's a flag at the 30-yard line, and Kramer's indicating it's against the Bears. 37-yard touchdown strike from Kramer to Alfred Anderson.
And Otis Wilson was covering man for man, number 55, and just quite couldn't get the job done, and they make a big touchdown play, throwing the ball to Anderson.
So again, the Vikings start very effectively. They've been most efficient on those first possessions.
You know, the other thing is very important when you play away from home, especially in an enclosed stadium like this one. You want to keep the crowd in the game if you possibly can. And starting like that is a great illustration and indication that they have the crowd in the game right now.
That was blocked, and it looked like Dan Hampton was the guy that blocked the point after attempt. Let's go back to the touchdown.
Watch the touchdown now. Anderson coming out of the backfield, number 46, and watch 55. Watch him, here he comes at an angle, but he takes kind of a flat angle. So he takes too flat an angle, then has to change his course, and by the time he changed his course, it was all over. School was out. It's the bye-bye Blues. Touchdown, Minnesota Vikings.
Let's go back now to the black point after by Chuck Nelson. Looks like Hampton, Dan Hampton.
Definitely Hampton on the left side.
So Anderson scores, and the Vikings lead it 6-0. Back at the Metrodome, you can see that the Vikings, when they score first, have been very effective, and they have done that today. They lead 6-0. Chuck Nelson to kick off. Bringing it out is Dennis Gentry. Out to the 25, to the 30, and he'll be grounded at the 32-yard line. Over there is Carl Hilton. number 82. 25-yard return, and Steve Fuller, starting his first game of this year, came in relief against the Packers, played so effectively. And here's the defense that he'll be facing. Tim Newton's coming off an outstanding game. He was a Sports Illustrated Defensive Player of the Week. Linebacking, well, Chris Martin is a surprise starter. He's going in place of a #1 draft pick, Chris Dolman. And in the secondary, outstanding safeties are Joey Browner and John Harris. Harris has a bad hamstring. We'll have to watch him very closely.
One thing they got to do, the Bears, they got to get Joey Browner out of the game by splitting the tight end out, which they do here, and getting him out of the play. He's basically a linebacker, and they're going to make him play as a corner, which is a very good move offensively for the Bears.
Millard was in the face of Steve Fuller that time. He messed up that play from the beginning, as the Vikings hoping to put some pressure on, and they did that time. Let's look now offensively. Fuller looks to Ortego, who had that brilliant game 2 weeks ago where he caught 6 passes for 157 yards. Ortego kind of arrived on the scene against the Vikings. Up front, Colbert. He's the anchor. In the estimation of Walter Payton, the best offensive tackle in pro football. Second down 10 now from the 32.
See, here they are, the same situation again. They reduced the tight end. They have 2 receivers on the left side, with the tight end on the right side to get Browner out of the game.
Browner's so tough coming up the middle. Here's a pass to Payton. Vikings swarming, and they're going to lose yardage inside the 30-yard line. Scott Studwell was there. It's going to be 3rd down now, 12 yards to go. And right now, Hank, Minnesota is playing both sides of the ball very effectively.
Well, they're controlling the line of scrimmage. There's no question about that. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the one thing they wanted to do was start quickly and get the crowd in the game, and they certainly have done that.
Line of scrimmage just inside the 30. So it's a 3rd and 12 now for Steve Fuller. Steve did not play well in the preseason, lost some confidence, but he feels he's gotten it back after coming off the bench to lead into victory over the Packers.
We might even see a run here from the shotgun. I don't know, but 3rd and 12. No, they're going to throw it.
Millard putting some pressure on, and this pass is on target, and it's going to be a 1st down catch by Ortego. Keith Ortego with a 14-yard completion, and on 3rd and 12 they deliver.
Watch Ortego. He's on the outside, far right. Number 30, Colt is covering man for man. Look, he runs him downfield, breaks to the outside. The ball is thrown good. The timing is perfect. The ball is thrown right about the time he starts his break. And as a result, it's a big 1st down for the Chicago Bears.
We call him White Lightning. He was labeled that after his outstanding performance against the Vikings 2 weeks ago. That's going to give Fuller some confidence on that 3rd and 12 and able to connect.
It's very important that a second quarterback starts the game with some success.
Uh-oh, that's not success. It looks like Fuller's able to recover, though. Mishandled snap. I know you don't in any way condone that. You just don't think there should ever be a bad snap from center to quarterback.
I can't understand how in professional football you can have a bad snap between the center and the quarterback. It's kind of ridiculous, but it happens so much of the time. And there's a great illustration of it. He never had the handle on the ball very smartly. He was able to fall on the ball instead of trying to pick it up and run with it. That's when you kick it around and get yourself in trouble.
2nd and 13. Jay Hilgenberg working with a new quarterback. That time not making the exchange. Ortego in motion. Payton to the 45, to the 50, spinning, lunging, and that might be enough for the 1st down. John Harris made the stop. What was Jerry Burns said about Payton? He's a squirmer. He always gets an additional yard or 2. And in this particular instance, it might have been enough for the 1st down.
The great thing about Payton is that he has terrific vision. He never puts his head down and never closes his eyes, and that's very important as far as running backs are concerned. And as a result, most tacklers, when they try to make a tackle, will put their head down and close their eyes. He keeps his open. As a result, he makes a lot of people miss tackles because he's always aware of where he's running.
3rd down, a matter of inches. Payton told us, he says, when he gets that first hit, he's ready to go. Whether it's a block, catching the football, or running with it. Here he is running with it, and for the 1st down. Inside the 45 to the 43-yard line. A little pushing going on there as Bortz hit Tim Newton and shoved him backwards. Bortz didn't start against Minnesota 2 weeks ago due to a knee injury. They had Kurt Becker in his stead, but he's in there today.
The Bears have really come up with a good game plan going into this game because, again, I can't emphasize too strongly the importance of getting Joey Browner, number 47, who is a safety man but plays like a linebacker. Normally he plays right up on top of the tight end. Now they got the tight end reduced from the formation. As a result, he's out of play as far as tackling is concerned, and it's a very good concept.
First down now. Neil Anderson's checked into the ball game. The first-round draft pick, the rookie. Here is Peyton. He may have gotten a yard at the most. They want to get Anderson in the lineup because Mike Ditka feels he is just an outstanding football player. He had a 66-yard touchdown run called back last week against Houston. There he is, out of the University of Florida. He'll come out now, and Suey replaces him. One thing I like about Mike is he gets his best players on the field. He moved Gentry around so he could keep him in the action, and now he's using Anderson some at fullback.
That's why you win. You can't worry about winning the popularity contest with people in your team. You got to do what's best for your team. Every move you make, you have to ask one question. This is going to help us win. If it helps you win, do it.
No democracy in football, huh? Second down, 9 yards to go. Ditka celebrating his 47th birthday yesterday. Here is Peyton. Peyton inside the 40 to the 37-yard line. So it's going to bring up a third down for Chicago. Third down and 5.
How about Peyton yesterday? I asked him an unusual question. I said, why do you wear number 34? He said, well, when I went to college, I wanted 35, but Ricky Young had 35, so I took 34 because 3 and 4 is 7, and my birthday is the 7th month of the year, so I think that's the reason I wear 34.
He also said 7's a lucky number.
That's right.
Third down, 5 now. Fuller with a loud crowd asking for some assistance from the official. He thinks it's loud now. Wait a moment. That'll get him stirred up.
I think one thing that you have to consider when you play in a dome stadium, Gary, is a silent count, meaning that everybody gets up in the line of scrimmage and they all count to themselves, and then you go. You don't have to worry about a cadence or a non-rhythm count. Sometimes that's very effective. It takes a lot of practice, but I think it can be very effective against a crowd like this one.
Well, of course, last week the Bears played indoors at the Astrodome, had considerable difficulty hearing there. In fact, the backs would have to walk up to the quarterback to hear what he's saying, and it may evolve into that before this game is over. They've been waiting on the return of the Bears for a long time. This game has been sold out. They said they could have sold 100,000 tickets for this game. Here we go, 3rd and 5.
Now they're in man-for-man coverage, and let's see if they try to do something up on top with the outside receivers. Let's see what happens here. Here they come. Fuller, there it is.
And the catch is made by Ortego, but it's going to be short of the first down, Hank.
I can't understand. He knew what he had to make and didn't go deep enough, and for that, watch the outside. Watch, it's kind of a pick play. Goes outside and then comes underneath like a basketball pick, but he doesn't run the route deep enough, and for that reason, he doesn't make the first down.
That's almost a pick, isn't it? I don't know what screws a pick and not a basketball pick.
No, I don't think that's almost a pick, Gary. That is a pick.
Okay. It's 4th down. 4th down, a yard to go.
You know, pro football today really is a basketball game on grass. It's push and shove and pick and go. There was a great illustration of it. And I don't mean that to be a derogatory thing. That's just what the rules are.
They're going for it on 4th down, a yard. Suey's going to get it easily. That's confidence in your football team. The offensive line that time certainly controlling the line of scrimmage.
You know, that's the great thing about this Bear team. They have enough maturity and confidence that they're not affected by sudden change, meaning that adversity doesn't bother them. They thrive on it and they play better. A good surge, look at a good surge by the offensive line, and Tom Thayer, the right guard, gets an inside position on the defensive tackle and provides good running room for Suey to pop through there for the necessary yardage.
So they're close to the 31. First down, 6-0. The Vikings lead. They scored on their first possession. See, there's the backs now going up to Fuller to get the play. It's so noisy. Where to go in motion. Fuller flies on the play. Steve's coming up. He fumbles the ball. And this time the Vikings are going to get it. But there are penalty flags. Let's check them out.
Minnesota looks like got the possession of the ball.
Illegal motion offense is declined. First down, Minnesota.
Tim Newton's the guy that came up with it.
Now there's Fuller going back in the pocket, faking to both backs, and then slips a little bit. Martin is in hot pursuit. As he tries to run upfield, the ball slips out of his hand. He tries to recover it, but no dice. And the Vikings recover 1st and 10.
But this defense after turnovers has been very, very difficult. Look at this. They have not allowed to score after the last 8 Bear turnovers. They'd like to keep that string alive. Hank, on that last drive, Bears had it for 11 plays, 6 minutes and 8 seconds, but didn't get anything on the board.
The other thing, you know, you got to do a lot of good business on 1st and 10 on that drive. They average on first down minus 1.25 yards on 1st and 10. Well, that's bad.
Kramer now, his team leading 6-0, has the ball to 34. Protection is excellent. Superb. Now breaks down, gets it off to Darren Nelson. Nelson with first down, out to the 45, the 40, to the Chicago 35.
Flag again. Another flag on the play.
32-yard gain. Let's see if it stands. Al Harris is shaken up on the play. There's Harris at the 42, and it's going to go against Minnesota. That'll bring it back. Al Harris, of course, starting in place of Wilbur Marshall, who has a bad calf. And so they may get a little thin at that linebacking spot.
You know, I didn't get time to mention this earlier in the game, Gary. But I talked to Steve Fuller on the field before the game and Willie Galt, and they said there's anywhere from 5 to 12 people on the Bears that have come down with a flu, and they feel kind of punky. They're playing kind of punky so far.
81 offense during the run after the pass was caught. 10 yards, still first down.
Wilbur Marshall now has come into the ball game. And that holding call negates a 32-yard pickup back to the 30. But Hank, right now, Minnesota's protecting Kramer. In the first game, Kramer was sacked 7 times.
That's, you know, I mentioned that earlier. I think if he has the security and has protection, he's got a chance to make some big plays. You can't beat the Bears unless you have outstanding speed, lightning speed in the backfield and in the outside receivers, and the Minnesota Vikings have that. And as a result, if they have time to throw the ball, they could be very effective this afternoon.
1st and 14. There's Marshall. Marshall took himself out of practice Thursday with that calf injury, but now pressed into service due to the injury to Harris. 1st and 14 from the 30. Kramer, again, with a lot of time. He gets it off to Jordan, the tight end, and he picks up about 5 to the 35-yard line. Marshall over to make the stop. This guy, you feel, Hank, is one of the most underrated players in the NFL.
Yes, he is. He's very bright, runs good patterns, doesn't have blazing speed, but average tight end, if he averages 12 yards a catch, is very good. You see, he averages 14.6. And the normal scale, really, if a back averages 6 per catch, tight end 12, and a deep receiver 18, that's the ideal situation. But he's beyond the ideal situation, but he's an excellent back, tight end, and gets into the open areas extremely well.
He led all tight ends in the NFC in receiving last year with 68 catches.
The other thing, the Bears have to keep Kramer in the pocket. He's very, very effective out of the pocket when you flush him out.
Here is Nelson, and William Perry is there, and slams him down. We have a penalty coming up. Flags flying. There's Irwin now. He didn't like the way Perry treated Darren Nelson. And this old rivalry that has been heated for so many years is flaring up once again. Let's see what this is all about. Going to be tackling by face mask. Let's see if we can pick up this face mask violation, Coach. I don't know if it was Perry that picked up Darren or what. Let's see.
Let's see Perry, number 72. He's on the nose. He's on the nose. Plays off the
face
block.
mask, 5 yards, number 72.
Here he is.
Still second down.
He gets him to the backside. Boy, he has.
Yes, he does. Very, very obvious. So that will give them the first down.
Talking to Mike Ditka yesterday, I asked about the size of the refrigerator. He says he weighs about 235. And
235.
335, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, you're really giving the benefit of the doubt.
335. He wants him down to 320 next week, 315 the next, and 310 the following week.
And he said it with emphasis. That is not a first down because of the 5-yard penalty. Second down coming up. This is, and it's going to be more. Anthony Carter. Touchdown, Minnesota. Touchdown.
There it is, a very simple play. Faking inside, not a good fake to hold a linebacker so he can throw over the top. Runs a slant pass on the inside, and the rest is history. This guy is a burner. There'll be a big brown scorch mark right down the middle of the field where he just got through running.
Well, they say he's only 90%, but that's a pretty good 90%, isn't it?
I asked him yesterday, I said, how do you feel, and what about the coverage? And all he did was smile.
That now for Kramer is his 15th touchdown pass of the year. He was tied with Dan Marino the NFL lead coming in here. 2 today. The snap. Coleman had to get it up quickly. He did, and Nelson hits it. Yesterday, I should say last week, Coleman had to save a game for him on a snap that was not right, and he comes up with the quick hands again. Tonight, he came off the bench to throw 2 touchdown passes in his first 2 efforts.
He smiled when I asked about that yesterday, and I asked about his situation very frankly, and he said, Coach, he said, really, I really don't want to play because my back is sore and tender. It isn't my shoulder, it's my back and kidney, and I think I need the rest. But here again, that doesn't mean I won't play. I might have to play. And talking to him on the field before the game, he said that he felt good, he could throw the ball, but he was worried about what would happen if he got hit.
Chuck Nelson kicking off, 13-0 in favor of Minnesota. This is Gentry again. And he's going to get him some very good operating room out to the 39-yard line. Well, Jim, this week, again, speaking out and causing some controversy, he was not very happy about the acquisition of Doug Flutie.
Well, he said that he had a nice meeting with Mike Ditka, and Mike confirmed it. And he said they had a good 20-minute meeting, and he left the meeting. He thought it was very productive, and he was totally satisfied with what transpired in the meeting, period.
There's one of his protectors, Thayer's alongside. So Thayer out of there. They're going to alternate all 3 guards, Becker, Bortz, and Thayer. So Becker's in the game now.
You know, Gary, the other thing we got to mention, what the Bears are doing because of the odd alignment of the Minnesota Vikings, they're calling plays on the line of scrimmage. They call a play in a huddle, and then they say, check with me. And then on the line of scrimmage, they call the appropriate play.
Here's Peyton on the first down, and boy, is he stuck here. Excellent reaction. That's Chris Martin, number 57, who's just an overachiever. He's a former free agent with the Saints, and he has replaced Chris Dolman at that linebacking spot.
You know, back again to the 1st and 10, which is such a very, very important down. Everybody talks about 3rd and long being important. If you do a good job on 1st and 10, you don't have to worry about it. And so far, the Chicago Bears have averaged minus 1.25 on 1st and 10. Minnesota, 12.2.
Well, Kramer, as you can see, has directed them to 2 touchdowns. He just threw his longest touchdown pass of the year, 60 yards, and he's 5 of 5, Hank, for 122 yards. Not a bad start, huh?
Maybe that's what he needs, rest on Friday and Saturday.
I guess so. 2nd down, 8 yards to go. Fuller over the top, and we have a penalty flag as Neil Anderson and the intended receiver at the 30-yard line.
They had what they wanted that time. They had a one-on-one situation on Joey Browner, number 47. And again, instead of playing safety and a linebacker, he's playing a corner, and he doesn't play that very well. That's the worst part of his game, playing pass defense.
Well, there's another miscue on the part of the Bears, a penalty. Hank, you know, Ditka was saying, as we look at Jim Tunney, he'll announce the decision here.
Illegal motion, offense is declined. 3rd down.
Mike Ditka said we're 6-0, but we're not playing very well, and nobody's paying any attention to it. But here today, they're not going very well.
Well, he's very honest. They haven't played that well. They play in spurts. They depend so much on their defense to shrink the size of the field for their offense that they play in a much shorter field than the opposition, and that's what they rely on so much. If they have to take the ball 80 and 75 and 90 yards, it's tough the way they play offensively, especially without McMahon.
3rd down and 8 now for Chicago. Fuller, the deep drop. Penalty flag scrambling around. He locates his man very effectively. And again, that's Ortego. He'll have a 1st down catch, but let's check the penalty flag back at the 39-yard line. Ortego right now, the man that Fuller's looking to. It's going to go against Chicago again.
The play was killed by the line judge. False start, offense moving, still 3rd down. Must accept the penalty, 3rd down.
A surprising start here in the Metrodome in Minneapolis. The Minnesota Vikings, who lost 6 in a row to the Bears, now have a 13-0 lead, scoring on their first 2 possessions. Tommy Kramer, 2 touchdown passes, 122 yards. The Bears move the ball once, only to fumble it. I'm Gary Bender along with Hank Stram as we approach the 7th week of the NFL season.
You know, the amazing thing about this Bear team, you think about, when you talk about them and the way they've won, you think about the monsters of the Midway. But, you know, the offensive line of the Bears averages 263, the Vikings 263 on defense. Not a bit of difference at all in the size.
Willie Gault could not stay in bounds. Gault had gone far enough up the field for the 1st down, but just couldn't get both feet in when he made the catch.
Well, they're in buff and run. Look at, he misses the play totally. Talking about at the left corner, number 30, but he's protected on the outside, and he catches the ball out of bounds, and it falls incomplete.
You talked about the flu. Galt was very sick yesterday when he flew in. They were concerned about him playing today, but obviously he is there.
He was all smiles before the game on the field. He said he felt fine, but he was concerned about a lot of the other guys, he said, because a lot of the other guys had the flu, including Steve Ford.
Buford kicking to Best. Best coming up on the fly to the 35, 40, and he'll be grounded there. Good field position, and we have some shoving and pushing going away from the ball. Tim Reitman getting into it with Alfred Anderson, and they separate the two. That was a 39-yard punt, but a very fine 15-yard return. So Tommy Kramer has the Vikings on a roll. They lead it 13-0. Hank, even though in the game 2 weeks ago the Vikings were shut out 23-0, they thought they could play the Bears tougher, and they're certainly doing it today.
Well, they played miserably the last time they played the Bears, which is very obvious. Kramer had a bad day, and they didn't have Carter. I think Carter, as I mentioned earlier, he's a lightning guy, and with he and Nelson and Jones, boy, they have a lot of firepower, and if they have protection, they can score from any place in the field. And that's what you have to do to beat the Bears.
Well, the first time this guy was sacked 7 times. Thus far, he's had excellent protection. He's 5 of 5, 122 yards.
Yeah, excuse me, the other thing they're doing a lot of passing on a quick count, and they're throwing the ball quickly. He's not holding on the ball. They're going to throw the ball quickly because they're concerned about the rush.
There was Perry. He wouldn't let go of Allen. Playing with a knee that's giving him some difficulty. You talked about Ditka wanting him to get his weight down. He feels once that knee is better, he can get the weight down easier too.
And of course, the Bears are the kind of a team, you know, that thrive on adversity and controversy, and I think maybe this kind of a thing is going to be good for them. We'll see how they respond, but they're going to have to screw their hats on and play tough to get back into this football game, and they have that personality. That's when they usually do a better job.
And the question is, can they do it without Jim McMahon?
That's right. That's going to be the big question.
Straight ahead, that's Ted Brown, the veteran who's played so well through the years, advancing out to the 45. It'll bring up 3rd down and 5. Next Saturday, college football here on CBS. Most of you will see USC against Stanford. John Pay, a brilliant quarterback. Rodney Peete, the scrambler for the Trojans. Those of you in Kentucky will see Clemson at North Carolina State. 3:30 Eastern Time, college football on CBS.
You know, the other thing that the Vikings are doing very well, Gary, they're running right at the Bears. They're such a quick group, the Bears defense I'm talking about, quick and fast, that if you try to run east and west and sideways, they murder you, but you got to run right at them, and you're much more effective doing that.
Unbelievably, this is the Vikings' first 3rd down of the game on a 3rd and 6, and they get it. That's big Steve Jordan, 6'4", 240-pounder out of Brown. And Kramer right now is just absolutely picking them apart.
Watch Jordan come off the line of scrimmage, and the linebacker doesn't even give him a shot. He gets a free release. It's a zone defense. They throw right between the linebacker and Richardson, the left corner. He gets the ball right on the numbers. But again, the key thing, Gary, is he had plenty of time to throw the ball.
Well, Kramer's had some sensational games, evidenced by the 6 touchdowns against the Packers, 325 yards last week. He's missed none today, 6 of 6.
Well, he's kind of a stock market quarterback, really. He's a very good quarterback, but he's up and down. And if he's hot, he is really hot.
There's Brown in the waning seconds of the first quarter, and now Singletary with his helmet off was going after Kurt Laudermilk. Now Mike, who is one of the most soft-spoken, easygoing guys off the field you'll ever see, obviously is human right now. And he's trying to probably rally his troops a little bit.
Well, I think sometimes psychologically, I always like for our teams, when they were down a little bit, for somebody to start something, to get our guys back in the game, regardless what it might be, you know, to do something, to get them back in the football game, and maybe that's what Mike tried to do there.
Well, it was all Minnesota in quarter number 1. This capacity crowd enjoying it as the Vikings lead it by 13. Has 11 straight NFC Central Division wins, but right now in danger of having that snap. His team down 13-0. One of the big stories is Kramer, and the reason he's playing so well, Hank, they're picking up the blitzes, they're blocking so well.
Yeah, they really are. They're controlling the line of scrimmage. They changed their blocking scheme a little bit too. We'll talk about that as the game goes along.
Second down 5. You saw the stats, only 39 yards in the first quarter for Chicago. Spinning move by Allen Rice, very close to the first down. What do you mean they've changed the blocking schemes?
Well, basically, I think whenever you play a normal team, why you just block areas with your offensive linemen, 5 people, and they just sit back and block anybody who comes into the area. That was not effective for the Vikings the last time they played the Bears because they got too much penetration and they just couldn't pick them up. So this time they're trying to get an angle on them, and they're blocking the tackle to the outside, the guard to the outside, the center to the back, to the same side, and then fill in with the back to make sure they get an angle on the weak side away from the tight end, and they're doing a pretty good job of picking up the block.
3rd down, a yard to go.
Well, look at that right outside.
That's where they're going. Rice on the pitch. He wants to throw, and now he likes to run and stays on his feet and gets the 1st down.
Had he not pulled around trying to throw the ball, he might have gone all the way. He had a great advantage. The wingback, everybody was inside of the wingback that time, Gary, and for that reason, you got to make yardage unless the halfback gets a heart attack running the football. You got to make yardage on that kind of a play. But look, he hesitates, and then he decides to make up a move upfield. He finally does, and he squirts through there for the necessary for the 1st down.
Singletary eventually making the stop. By the way, Rice can throw the ball. He is their emergency 3rd quarterback should they have to go to him, so he is good on that pass run option. Look at this. Minnesota averaging 9 yards on 1st down. You've always said that's maybe the most valuable statistic you can have.
It's not maybe, it is. You better do a good job on
Minnesota.
1st and 10, get 4 or more, or else you're going to struggle all afternoon. A good picture of Schnelker, Bob Schnelker, the offensive coordinator in a white shirt. He's one of the outstanding coaches, I think, in the National Football League.
The beauty of patience is its gentle persistence, but the power of patience is anything but passive. For proof, we introduced the new generation of Mitsubishi trucks. This Mitsubishi has been patiently crafted to be an exceptional value, with a new shape, a new interior, and all the strength of more horsepower per liter than ever before, which proves that even patience likes to kick up a little dust. Mitsubishi.
When you start something good, everyone wants a piece of it. Take light beer from Miller. Now there's lots of light beers out there saying they're less filling. Heck, that was the easy part. The hard part is brewing a light beer that tastes great. That's why Light's always brewed only with the finest ingredients. To let all that great beer taste come through for guys like you and me. The taste that's made light beer from Miller America's favorite light beer.
Hey, I always thought it was easy opening can.
It's a Radio Shack Merry Christmas.
Meet our family's newest member.
Our new high-performance Tandy 1000 EX. PC compatible and now at an incredible $7.99, including a Christmas bonus color monitor. We saved $300.
And it came with desk-mate software like word processing, budgeting, filing, and more.
Of course, all work and no play.
Makes a dull computer.
Right.
The Tandy 1000 EX computer, just $7.99, only at Radio Shack.
Tonight, Lee Remick was the 1st generation of an experiment. Her son, the 2nd, and her granddaughter may be the 3rd.
You can give us the child
A chance.
Of Pure Blood on CBS.
When Jerry Burns took over, he named new defensive and offensive coordinators. Here's the offensive coordinator, Bob Schnelker.
And I tried to hire him when I was at Kansas City and missed. He wound up going to the Miami Dolphins, but he really is an outstanding coordinator. He knows what he wants to do. He's very decisive, good discipline. He's a little bit like Hitler, except he didn't have a mustache.
I'll tell you, you said that. 1st down out to 33. Kramer, quick drop, and it's up and incomplete, intended for Anthony Carter at the 20-yard line. That is the first incomplete pass that Kramer's thrown. Show you how effective he has been. Here's what's happened thus far. What's not reflected in that graphic is that Fuller had him moving one time and then fumbled the ball in the open field. Kramer 6 of 7, 2 touchdowns, a 60-yarder in those statistics, the longest of his season. And as Hank said, when he's hot, and right now he is sizzling.
I think the big thing is, anytime you start a game, you get off to a good start with pass protection. A quarterback has to feel extremely good. Look at all the room on the right side now for the I formation.
It's Lewis in motion. He'll come back. On a 2nd down and pitch to Brown, and they're waiting on him this one. That's Duerson. Dave Duerson, who has 4 sacks, 4 interceptions, and he was just a real thorn in the Vikings side in the game 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, he was right up there close again that time, and they had everybody blocked but him. And, of course, it doesn't make any difference. If you don't block one guy, you're out of business. And Duerson really made a great play on that last one.
3rd down 12. Many people feel he's playing the best strong safety of anybody in the NFL. And Ditka will tell you that he is smart. He just sees a lot of things out there.
And he's another guy you got to kind of get out of the game because he kills you. They're playing with four linemen and 4 linebackers when he plays safety.
Bears would like to stop him here on a 3rd down and 12. Looks like the blitz coming. Pearson coming up the middle. Kramer on target. Great catch that time is made. There's a penalty flag, however. Beautiful grab that time. Kramer on target. And let's see if it's going to come back. It is. It's a penalty flag against Minnesota. Offside. No, wait a minute. He's pointing to Chicago. Let's check this one out. Think he pointed the wrong way?
I don't know. Looking at Kramer, that evidently was an expression of joy.
Yeah, he was jumping up like he was mad.
Offside. Defense has declined. 1st down.
I thought Kramer was hot. He was jumping up and down, but he was excited that they were going to be able to stand on that play.
He was full of happiness. That's what happened. And, of course, the other thing is, you know, when you see the Bears blitz like they did on the last play, and they don't get the penetration, and they don't get the quarterback, you know they're not doing a good job up front. They're really not coming off the ball like they should. Talking about the Bears.
So Kramer, completion to Lewis holds to the 22. Now Minnesota's 3 for 3 on 3rd down conversions. Now they have a 1st down from the 22, and Kramer leading 13-0, trying to add to that advantage. To Anderson, fumble, and I believe the Bears have it. It looks like Hampton 99 has the football. And so now the Bears have a chance to get this game possibly turned around a little bit.
And that's what they do. They make those big plays defensively. Look at Anderson coming into the left side with a ball in his right arm, and as a result, the pressure is coming from that same side. They knock the ball loose, and Hampton recovers a fumble. The Bears have possession, 1st and 10 on the 23.
Hank, 3 touchdowns down is a lot different than 2, and of course they avert that.
Well, when you talk about touchdowns and you talk about points, it sounds like a lot, but really they're only 2 plays from getting back in the game. That's it.
Let's see if they can come up with some points after this takeaway. Suey in the backfield. Check that. Calvin Thomas in the backfield. There's Payton in motion. Fuller, and he's on target. Tight end Emory Moorhead. And Moorhead has a 1st down catch to the 45, a 23-yard pickup. Here's a guy that found a home in Chicago in 1981, and they haven't gotten him out of there since.
Watch Moorhead come off the ball. But pass protection is good. That's what they have to do. They have to be patient. Good pass protection. Moorhead breaks into the inside. He's split out wide, you see. And Joey Browner is covering him man for man, and he doesn't do that well. That was a big play. And they have to do more of that when they split Moorhead out away from the 2 receivers.
1st down now at the Chicago 45. Ortego in motion. Fuller. And can't make the connection. Ortego takes a pretty good shot that time from Ike Holt, number 30. That'll bring up 2nd down. Holt is a man who last week fell on a fumble recovery against the 49ers for a touchdown. He has 3 interceptions this year out of Alcorn State. He technically is not perfect, Hank, but he plays with enthusiasm.
Yes, he does. He plays with a lot of animation. Good feeling.
Fuller now 4 of 8 for 38 yards, has a 2nd and 10.
You know, I think, I don't want to belabor the point, but I think when you reduce Moorhead from the formation, now he's out there again. Now Browner is out there with him. If you're going to make that move, you got to take advantage and throw the ball out there more often than they have. They got a one-on-one. They got to take advantage of that more than they have.
Well, they did earlier for 23 yards. Here's Fuller back, protection breaking down, and he stops at the 40. He's engulfed by purple shirts. A loss back to the 40-yard line. Now coming into this game, the Bears had given up only 6 sacks. But this time, they were able to demolish that offensive line.
They cave in the pocket. Look at Millard, number 75, coming inside. Sheds the block. It's a good bead. Plus, they get a rush from the outside, and also the linebacker, Martin, got through there in good shape.
Millard is a street fighter. He's out of Washington State, a 2nd-year man, the number 1 draft pick in '84, and he's one of those guys that does everything he can to get to the quarterback.
He's got a little bit of the personality of Howie Long. nice-looking guy, mild-looking guy, but once the ball is snapped and they pump up the balls, screw the hats on, he really plays.
3rd and 15, Fuller on a bootleg. He's going to run with it. And he's going to be, I think, just short of the first down. There's another penalty flag. Fuller started everyone one direction. He went the other, and I think we're going to have a clipping call against Chicago.
You know, and I think what happened on the play, I think he called a sweep and didn't tell anybody and kept the ball himself. That way, everybody carries out their fakes beautifully, and you get away with it. If you tell them it's a preconceived play, it never works the same, and I think that's what happened on the last play.
He has very good escapability, Steve Fuller does. He's always been able to run with the ball. We believe it was Dennis Gentry who threw the block, the clip, that's going to bring this play back.
The other thing about Fuller, he's very, very bright, well-prepared, well-disciplined, and he knows his ability very, very well and doesn't try to play beyond what he personally can do, which is very important.
Illegal block, number 29, 10 yards, still 3rd down.
Number 29 is Gentry, as we suspected. So that will negate a very fine effort. We're going to look at it now, see if we can pick it up. Number 29, watch him.
Watch Gentry trying to come into the picture and try to make a block. Let's see what he does here. Oh, yeah, he gets him in the back, gets Howard in the back, gives him a little massage in the back. Penalty.
It's one of those massages you don't want, right?
Well, it's all right if the official doesn't see it, but when he sees it, you're in trouble.
3rd and 15 now. There's the penalties thus far in this game. 10:41 to go in the first half. 13-0 Minnesota. This time Gentry will line up on the backfield. In motion is Lou Barnes, a rookie from Oregon. Fuller looked like he wanted to shovel forward with a pass, and it never materialized. That was that shovel pass, I believe, Hank. And Gerald Robinson, 95, their first-round draft pick, dropped him there.
Yeah, that's usually a play that you like to use against a very aggressive defensive end. Robinson, number 95, was playing the right side, but he played it extremely well. He tries to shovel the ball underneath. Look at it to Gentry. There's a big mix-up there. You can't tell exactly what took place, but it looked like Robinson recovered nicely and made the play.
Buford, who got a game ball 2 weeks ago for his punting against the Vikings, will punt to Bess. Minnesota playing extremely well. Here is Bess calling for the fair catch because Neil Anderson was there staring him in the face. 47-yard punt by Buford. The Vikings have the football at 3-6. Year, of course, is that strike-shortened season, but you can see they've improved each year. But, you know, he's kind of keeps this team together, Hank, and he told us he's had a lot of sleepless nights.
I tell you, nobody knows really what the responsibility of a head coach is when you have to orchestrate the whole thing, a squad of 45 people, especially once you've reached the level of success that the Bears have reached. They have reached front-page success, and it's really a difficult job. And Mike has really done a remarkable job of keeping it all together, meaning that they've won 6 in a row, and that's what it's all about.
Right now, though, he's trailing 13-0 as the Vikings have it at the 18-yard line. Darren Nelson slips across the 20 to the 21-yard line. To get back to Ditka, I think a lot of people feel that, hey, he kind of enjoys the controversy and all the things that go on, but that's not the case. He doesn't want that.
No, he does. Certainly doesn't. I think any coach would like to have a, you know, an ideal situation. But again, personalities of teams change, and they're very different. Some guys thrive on adversity. The Raiders are that kind of a team. You know, they win better, and they do a better job under adversity than they have than they do when they have prosperity. It's funny how that works.
Last team to repeat, of course, the Super Bowl champ. Steelers in 78-79. Straight ahead again, a flag as Nelson to the 25. Vikings, who have not run the ball effectively all year long, getting some running room now against Chicago, but this is going to come back as a penalty against Minnesota.
Well, I think any time, you know, if you're not careful, you try to do too much as a coach. You know, you hear a lot of people say, well, we're going into the game with 80 passes and 25 runs. It'd take you 3 games to run all those plays, you know, so you can't, and you have to be able to make a decision and say, we're going to run, let's look at this.
67, 10 yards, still 2nd down.
That's Dennis Swillick.
But you have to be able to say, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have 8 runs, we're going to have so many passes, and that's it. We're going to execute and do a good job. And so I think what the Vikings have done going into this game, they've reduced their running plays to very few, just straight-ahead thrust, most of the time, some draws, and throwing quickly, and basically the plan is working extremely well.
Well, they came in here 25th in the NFL in rushing. Of course, the Bears are so good against the run. The penalty now makes it 2nd and 17. Nelson, and he's going to be gobbled up, and that Bear defense now starting to acquit itself very effectively. That was Richard Dent who was in there so quickly. Don't forget, still to come, Game 2 of today's doubleheader. Most of you will see the Giants take on Seattle, a big game out in the Kingdome. And those of you in Michigan will see the Detroit Lions take on the Los Angeles Rams. Minnesota, by the way, will not receive Game 2 due to our NFL contractual commitment. We're in the Metrodome before a sellout crowd. It's third down now, 20 yards to go for the Vikings. But the Vikings have shocked the undefeated Bears, leading 13-0 with 8:40 to go in the first half. I'm Gary Bender, along with Hank Stram, and this man Kramer's having a good day. Scrambling out of there. And this catch is made. Very good coverage on Steve Jordan by Doerson, but Jordan got there anyway, picked up 12 yards on the play, out to the 20-yard line, but it's still going to bring up a fourth down.
But that kind of a play is like throwing a piece of gum at a tank. You know, it really doesn't do much good. You got no chance to make the first down, but it gives them more room from a kicking standpoint.
Oh, that's right.
And the Bears ought to come out of here with pretty good field position.
Greg Coleman, he is an outstanding punter, coming in here, 6th in the NFL.
But he takes a lot of time. He has to kick. He'll kick the ball 5 yards in front of where he was. He'll kick the ball about where the 10-yard line is, and as a result, if you go in front of him good enough with a good angle,
there it is, too.
Chance to block it.
Yes, sir. You called that, but look at Coleman. And Coleman with a great ad-lib effort.
Well, you see, Gary, he takes a lot of time, and the rusher should have blocked the kick that time, but he went too deep, and he went right underneath him and made the first down. Watch it now. Watch it. He gets the ball. Look at now. Watch where the guy comes way beyond. He should have been a yard and a half in front of his foot. He'd have been in great shape to make the play. He went too deep, and for that reason, Coleman's a seasoned pro. He reads it very well and took advantage. Watch this. Look at this. See, he doesn't go out in front.
That's Sean Gale, Hank.
That's right. Sean Gale did not go out in front at the proper angle. Had he done so, it'd have been a block kick because he takes it 5 yards to kick the ball.
This guy, Greg Coleman, very animated, very popular with his teammates. We'll develop that story. A 16-yard ad-lib effort gets him out of a real jam to the 35-yard line. Allen Rice now trying to go wide, and he'll get a couple of yards. Well, Sean Gale, the captain of their special teams, had the wrong angle. Greg Coleman is a story in himself. He's been with the Vikings so many years, and he's so popular. When we watched him work out this week, Hank, he was the official in their 2-minute offense. He took on as though he was the Art McNally of the National Football League, and the players love him.
Well, he's got a great personality, and see, he takes a lot of heat during the game, during the course of the week by all the players, as do all kickers. And so as a result, he loves to do it on Friday because he gets back at all those players that gave him the business early in the week. He has a lot of fun with it.
That's really in contrast. Most of your kickers are kind of removed from the rest of the team, but not in this case.
Behind the storm cellar when the work starts.
Second down 8. Here's Kramer going deep, and that ball is closer than it looked like. It looked like it was way overthrown, but Leo Lewis started to catch up with it. As you can see, Kramer picks himself up after throwing the ball. There's Leo, very small. They list him at 5'8", more like 5'7".
His dad played for Bud Grant, and Bud Grant said his daddy was probably one of the greatest running backs he had ever seen. And that's why they got Leo here to play for this team, and he's been a super success.
Well, his dad's in the Canadian Football League Hall of Fame.
Yes, he is.
So Leo, who played collegiately at Missouri, ran under that ball. Initially, Hank, it looked like he had no chance at it, but that's what they have of those guys like Carter, Lewis. They'll run and catch up with the ball.
Anytime you have the lightning guys, boy, anything can happen, and that's the great thing about this Minnesota team. If you play a lot of man for man, they can hit you with a bomb.
Third down 8. They blocked it extremely well, and that gives him a chance to hit Hassan. Check that, Anthony Carter, and Carter stopped by Richardson. First down to the Bear 42, a 20-yard pickup.
See, that's the other thing you cannot. You got to keep this guy in the pocket. You can't let him go outside of containment. Look at this. He does this time. He favors the right side. Now he gets out of containment. Has a great vision. One-on-one coverage on the outside on Richardson. There's no way in the world he can cover him 1-for-1 with all that time.
Hank, there's two things happening today. One, they're protecting Kramer, and secondly, they have Anthony Carter. Carter played 2 weeks ago, but he wasn't back, and he dropped the pass. And what a difference he makes in this football team.
Yeah, he makes things happen. He makes it happen, and you better be aware of him all the time. Because you get him on one-on-one situations, it could be all over.
It's murder, as you say. Murder.
Right.
He has 3 catches for 93 yards. This time, a flag, 2 of them, one thrown around the quarterback and the other in the secondary.
Look at the procedure that time. It looked like a Canadian play there, Gary. The backs were moving, and that's why they called the penalty on the offense.
But we had a penalty also over here on a collision between the defensive back and wide receiver.
Offsetting fouls, illegal motion number 20, defensive pass interference, offsetting fouls, still first down.
So they'll play it again.
I think the other thing that the Vikings are doing a good job of, they're taking advantage of what they see, and when they have a chance to go up on top, they don't mess around, they take it.
I've been informed that we've had some audio difficulties through the course of this game. We'll try to get them corrected. You can be rest assured as soon as possible. So we're going to start again here. First down from the 42.
The Bears do not look sharp. They look like kind of lethargic. They're not coming off the ball like they have to do something to get back into this football game. They're not going to do it playing like they're playing right now.
Got to give the Vikings some credit.
Oh, yeah, they're doing a great job, but the Bears really have to be a lot more aggressive. They're not nearly as aggressive as they usually are.
First down from the 42. Kramer wanting to throw quickly, and this one almost picked off by Richardson. Richardson, playing with a deep bruise above his knee, took himself out of the game last week against Houston, and very close on that one. He's matured into a very, very strong cornerback for this Super Bowl team, and it's going to bring up second down 10. 4-time All-Pac-10 at Arizona State. From the 42, Kramer will reload. 13-0 Minnesota, scoring on 2 Kramer touchdown passes. Kramer with a play action. Kemp coming for the backside. And this ball is incomplete, intended for Carter. Dent, along with good pressure from Otis Wilson, getting back there. And I think the Vikings feel that that catch was made, and we may have a discussion going on. Carter was over there. They ruled it incomplete. Richardson defending on the play.
Yeah, I
This is ruled incomplete.
I don't know why there was any discussion about that. It didn't look like there was any question about it. Let's take a look at it. Richardson does a good job. He's coming back for the ball, but see, he's coming back at an angle. Had he come straight back, Gary, instead of toward the sideline, he'd have had a chance to make the play because the defensive back would have been right directly behind him. Coming back at an angle, the defensive back, 27, had a chance to get the hand in there because he had an angle, knocked the ball down, incomplete.
Well, not only did he drop the ball, Hank.
You call is correct as it stands, third down.
Well, they actually looked at the replay, so Art McNally, who is the replay official, confirmed that they were right, but he didn't have the ball, nor did he have 2 feet in bounds.
No, that's right.
There they are, Art McNally. He's hiding behind there he is. See, you can see him leaning out. He didn't want to get on TV, Coach. New communication system today. You can talk directly to the umpire. Here's Kramer scrambling around on a 3rd and 10, and he's going to get a first down to the 30. Slides wisely to a first down at the 27.
There again, the key, no containment. You see, you cannot let him get outside of containment, meaning you can't get outside of the defensive left end. And in this particular case, look at, watch, he gets around, he'll go to the right side, and the defensive end finally tries to catch him from the back side. But look at the Strawberry side, slide right there for the first down.
He's been watching too many of those baseball playoffs. He didn't slide very far, did he? But anyway, he very alertly goes down, and at the 29, first down.
He didn't slide very far, but he slid safely.
Slid safely, huh?
Yeah.
13-yard pickup. Minnesota now 5 of 6 on 3rd downs after converting that last one. Gary Nelson, and he fumbles the ball, and it's loose. At the 22, there's a big pileup. Who's got it? Minnesota indicating they have it. And I think Jim Tunney agrees, so they still have it at the 22 and pick up some good yardage on the play.
We talked about it earlier. They're going a lot at McMichaels. Not to say that McMichaels is not a great player, which he is, but he's so aggressive that you take advantage of him because he gets good penetration, and you take him any way he wants to go and then cut the other way, and that's what seemingly they're doing a good job of so far this afternoon.
Gary Zimmerman came up with the ball. Let's watch it again. Wilson stripped it.
Yeah, Otis Wilson stripped the ball, and it looked like Zimmerman, 65, recovered the fumble.
You really like Gary Zimmerman, don't you?
Oh, yeah, he's a terrific football player. To look at him, he doesn't look like he plays.
What's that mean?
Well, you know, he doesn't look as impressive physically as a lot of people. A lot of guys play like Tarzan and look like Tarzan. He doesn't look like Tarzan, but he plays like him.
So there's a first down run. Minnesota can do no wrong right now. Gary Fincy made the stop on Darren Nelson. On a 2nd and 2, the Vikings pick up the first down just outside the 15. What you don't want to do is look like Tarzan and play like Jane. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. That's exactly right.
Well, Jerry Burns, the oldest rookie coach in the National Football League, 59 years old. And he's at the head of the class, Hank, as you take the grade at this stage of the season.
He wins this one today. They pasted a big gold star on his forehead, like they used to do at school when I was at St. Mark's in Gary, Indiana.
13th play on this drive now. Kramer has it. First down just outside the 15. Wait a minute. Going to stop it all. Let's reset it.
See, that time Jordan was trying to shift out to get Duerson away from the play, but in the process, he took a little bit too line.
5 yards, still first down.
So, delay of game, 5-yard penalty. At halftime, we'll go back to New York. Brent Will and Joe Theismann with scores and highlights, and then Spine on the West. This is a story involving Bill Parcells of the Giants. He traded his secrets on the NFC Expos to get the lowdown on the Seahawks.
We used to do that a lot. We did a lot with the Atlanta Falcons and Norm Van Brockman back when he was with the Falcons, and it was very enlightening, very productive.
First down now, 15 yards to go for Minnesota. Get Brown this time, and Brown will get close to the 15, and he'll get just about the penalty yardage back. You see the time left in the first half.
I tell you, they're still doing a lot of business on that left side, the offensive right side, getting good movement and really attacking the area. You know, a lot of times you'll talk to a coach before a game and ask him what the approach is, and he'll tell you, and then you watch the game and you wonder what they were talking about because they never do what they tell you. This game, specifically talking about Snelker, he indicated this is what they wanted to do, and this is exactly what they're doing.
This drive starting from the 18, 14th play of it. Second down now, 11. Well, we got a problem with the football. That's what it is. Going to bring another one in, I guess.
I think the refrigerator fell on it and he broke it.
Maybe it's got some scuff marks from it from the playoffs, the baseball playoffs. They want a new football. Well, anyway, we'll reset it. Dennis Swilley didn't like the variety possible. Anyway, he's got another football. Second down, a little over 10 to go. And this time Brown will negotiate the 12-yard line before he's knocked down.
Well, you talk about simplicity. They're not doing anything at all, running right side, left side, straight ahead. Occasional draw and occasional trap. Trap meaning that they pulled the right guard that time with the anticipation of thinking that the right end was not going to be blocked, and then they block him from the inside out, I should say, and they're doing a great job of it.
There's what we've been talking about, keeping you documented on it. Starting from the 18-yard line, you can see the time they've taken. It's 3rd and 6 for Minnesota. Well, let's make it 3rd and 7. 2 seconds. He just got the snap off in time, and this pass behind the intended receiver at the 5-yard line.
Boy, they had the perfect situation. Singletary was blitzing on the play. They picked it up, but in his haste to get rid of the football, he threw it poorly, and it falls incomplete.
Malarkey, the tight end, the intended receiver, so they're going to have to settle for the field goal, and Chuck Nelson will come in. Nelson, 7 of 9 this year, longest of 48 yards. He survived 16 different kickers coming into camp this year to win the job.
You know, the other thing, talking to him yesterday at practice, I asked him what he specifically tried to do in his kicks. He said, I pick out a person. I don't try to kick it through the uprights. I pick out a person between the uprights and try to kick it to that person to make sure I zero in on the target.
29-yard attempt. Little chip shot. And Chuck Nelson, after missing that point after, that was blocked, comes back and adds the three-pointer. With 2 minutes left now in this first half of play, we have a surprising game. 16-0 Minnesota. 3-yard drive culminating in a 29-yard field goal by Chuck Nelson, and right now everything going the Vikings' way. Chicago 2 minutes left, has 3 timeouts, but they need some success, Hank, to take into the dressing room.
Well, they really do, and what they need to get the ball back. They've had the ball almost half as much as the Vikings, and they've done a terrible job on 1st and 10, and that's really been the personality of the game. They really look, the Bears really have not been in this game at all, and I'm sure at halftime, Mike's going to melt the wax in their ears a little bit, because they have to really come alive in the second half if they're going to win this football game.
Well, there's 2 stories going on here, Hank. You talk about the absence of McMahon, but I think you pointed out very well, the Bears defense doesn't have that monsters of the midway mentality that you usually see.
No, they're not playing nearly as aggressively they normally have played, and really and truly, when you look at this Bear team, basically, they normally win because of the way the defense plays and because they get some good field position for the offense. They haven't done that so far, and that's been the difference in the game.
They've won 12 in a row, but right now, trail 16-0. Thomas Sanders returning the kickoff, and he'll get to the 23, and that's all.
See, even that kick return was very undecisive, indecisive. They didn't do a good job of making a decision and running up the field aggressively, and as a result, they didn't bring it back nearly as well as they should have.
Well, here's what's happened to Chicago in their first 3 possessions. Hank, I think Ditka sensed something. They won last week in the Astrodome against the Oilers 20-7, but he said we are not playing well. He said it in a little more descriptive way. And, coaches, they see trends that maybe players, they just don't deal with reality.
Well, sometimes, it's difficult. You can talk and talk and talk, but you don't win games by talking. You have to play, and regardless how much you talk about it, sometimes a player, they just turn you off. They don't listen. They think you're going to win it easy, and that's not the way to get it done.
Fuller stepping up in the pocket, and he gets it off to Moorhead, the tight end. Emory Moorhead, a catch short of the 30-yard line. You see the time left.
I think the Bears can get back into the game if they can pass block, but they haven't done a good job of pass blocking. Fuller needs time, like all quarterbacks need time, and he can't throw the ball dancing around back there. He's got to be able to step through and follow through, which he hasn't been able to do.
On a 2nd and 3, going without the huddle, Fuller looked like he's going to go deep. Now he's going to beat the football. That's the 3rd sack. The ball is loose, but it's been blown dead. Keith Millard was back there again, and this Viking defense started to put it together last week against the 49ers. Millard and Newton, those defensive tackles. And it's going to bring up a 3rd down and 8 now for Chicago. Clock with 1:21 left in the first half. Line of scrimmage will be the 27th. Steve Fuller, who was a valedictorian of his high school in Spartanburg, South Carolina, was a Rhodes Scholar at Clemson, very bright, articulate. The guy who came off the bench against the Packers and played so well, regaining his confidence, but been struggling here in this first half.
Yeah, you surely can't blame this on Fuller. He just hadn't had any protection.
3rd down, let's make it 6 yards to go.
They're playing a double zone, something in the middle. If they can get it in there, look at that.
That's the 4th sack, and that's Icebox. Tim Newton coming off of that brilliant performance of a week ago. He is, in the estimation of Jerry Burns, the fastest 286-pounder in the NFL.
Watch this again. Watch the pressure. They're back in the pocket. Look at Robinson coming from the outside, and he puts him in the vise. Makes the tackle and gets the sack.
That was Robinson that came over to make that. Not to stand corrected.
It was Robinson.
Gerald Robinson, who they feel, Hank, has some characteristics of 10. Those first 2 steps that he makes defensively. 41 seconds left to go. Chicago still has 3 timeouts. Head coach and leading 16-0. He called the timeout just a moment ago to stop the clock. Trying to get a crack at the football as the Bears now will have to give it up.
Bob Snow called the timeout, I think, Gary. And, talking to Jerry yesterday, it was really amazing. He said that he has 2 of the best coordinators in the business in Bob Schnelker and Floyd Peters, and he's given them total responsibility as far as the club is concerned.
They have a man shaken up. Isaac Holt is hurt for Minnesota. That was a 37-yard punt that time by Maury Buford. There's Holt. And so Minnesota, with their 1 timeout remaining, will have the football at their own 46-yard line. Don't forget, game 2 of this doubleheader today. Most of you will see the Giants in Seattle. Again, those in Michigan will see the Lions and the Rams. Minneapolis will not receive game 2 due to our NFL contractual agreement. So the Vikings would like to at least get a crack at a field goal with 34 seconds left in this first half. There's Holt. Isaac Holt. He set a record in college. playing very effectively. Had 24 interceptions in Division I AA, and was drafted on the second round in 1985, and looks like he's going to have to come off the field, and hopefully he'll be able to continue.
You know, the other thing about Holt is the fact that he's obviously, look at the size of him. He's got good size, good speed, very, very tough. Doesn't cover quite as well as he tackles right now, but that's usually what happens when you come in the National Football League as a rookie.
Well, you were looking at some of his techniques. Sometimes defensive backs get in bad habits with their feet.
Yeah, they do, and he certainly has some, but so far they haven't been able to take advantage of it because they haven't had enough time to throw the football, talking about the Chicago Bears.
Halftime, we'll have Brent, Will, and Joe Theismann scores and highlights. And again, the feature on Spying on the West. Bill Parcells and his Giants gathering some information. Hey, Coach, you never spied on anybody. Did you ever have anybody sit in the stands and watch the other team and pick up some little insides?
Whenever we could.
George Allen was paranoid about it, wasn't
he? Well, that's not against the rules. You know, you send somebody to a game, watch the game, and, you know, you buy a ticket.
No, I didn't say the game. I was talking about practices.
Oh, practices are usually open, too. And if they aren't, well, there's always a tree or something close by.
First down now from the 46. The Vikings with 34 seconds and a timeout left. On the throw comes Leo Lewis, and Lewis will be grounded.
He went beyond the line of scrimmage, I think. Kramer did. I think he went beyond the line of scrimmage on the play.
And so the penalty is going to come back. Kramer again showing very good escapability, moving around, and that's exactly what you pointed out, Hank, is they wanted to keep him in that pocket and keep him from stepping up. Last time they played, they just destroyed him when he tried to step up in the pocket.
Yeah, well, I think if you try to cave in the pocket, you know, on a guy that has good escapability on the outside, you're in trouble.
Illegal forward pass. Pass is beyond the line of scrimmage. It's 5 yards and loss of down. Second down.
Well, we've also lost a quarterback. Kramer takes himself out of the game after that last play, and he was holding their right chest area below the collarbone, which is giving him all kinds of difficulty.
That's what he said before the game. He said, I feel fine now, but I don't know what will happen when I get it hit. Wade Wilson, he just got it hit, and he found out.
This is Wade Wilson coming into the game. Now, Jerry Burns has a lot of confidence in this sixth-year man.
He's got a good gun, got a great arm, really has a great arm.
Darren Nelson, they tried to cross him up, and that's not going to work. Mike Singletary make a stop. Looks like Kramer's going to go in, and they're going to look him over. What a brilliant first half for Kramer. Signed a long-term contract this year, the Vikings. In his 10th year, he's a competitor. And right now, as he leads, he's 9 of 14, 179 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So Minnesota, after being shut out 2 weeks ago, 23-0, have reversed things here at the halfway point as they're leading this one 16-0. As Kramer and company has to be very pleased the way things are going. They've had a long dry spell against the Bears, losing 6 in a row. Ditka, after losing his first 2 as coach of the Bears, winning those 6 in a row. And of course, the Bears have won 12 straight, 11 straight in the NFC Central Division. And interestingly enough, have won their last 6 games in a dome. Of course, winning last week in the Astrodome against the Houston Oilers. 16-0. Minnesota, with this game today, if they could continue like this, they definitely have moved into the wild card picture and keep their hopes alive in the NFC Central Division. For Hank Stram, I'm Gary Bender. We'll rejoin you later as we'll go to Brent, Will, and Joe Theismann.
The San Francisco 49ers lead the Atlanta Falcons. It is 10-3. Instant replay is not a total failure, folks. Sometimes it works. The official on the field said Jerry Rice is out of bounds. You watch his left foot. You bet that's inbounds, and they changed it. Now, Will McDonough, you've been following the story. Are they getting better with this upstairs?
You know what that's going to do? That's going to help them keep instant replay because that's one they got right. But this week in Chicago, they had an owners meeting, and if they would have voted, instant replay would have been out right now.
Joe, what's your feeling about it?
I think what it's created is it's created this eye looking over the officials, and it's given them a sense of insecurity, so they're afraid to make a decision.
All right, so in the score down there right now, San Francisco 10 and Atlanta 3. New Orleans and Tampa Bay, and a running back for the Saints has exploded in this game. Formerly, he starred at Washington State. His name is Reuben Mays. He's carried the ball 17 times for 128 yards, and their 2 touchdowns. They lead the Bucs 17-0. New England, no trouble at all. What a terrible year this is for the Pittsburgh Steelers, 24-0 there at the half. Houston and Cincinnati, the Oilers have just struck to close to within 7. Boomer Esiason has thrown a touchdown pass of 37 yards to Collinsworth for the Bengals in that game. Cleveland and Green Bay. It is 14-3, and we want to ask Joe Theismann about Bernie Kosar as a quarterback.
Well, Bernie Kosar is starting to develop as a quarterback simply because when he came out of school, he hadn't had an opportunity to work in the National Football League. It's a different world. He's now getting more comfortable in his system. He's getting more comfortable with the people he plays with, and the results are touchdown passes.
Joe, what about Vinny Testaverde down in Miami? What do you think about that?
I think Vinny Testaverde could be one of the best to come along. You know, we've talked about the Elways and everybody else. He's going to be right in that category, I think.
All right, so Kosar, out of the same school, has them ahead right now. The Bills with Kelly, 17-6 over the Colts. They have gone to the half there. The Raiders down in Miami, raining hard at the start of this game. Marcus Allen is back for the first time in 3 weeks. He scored twice. It's 23-7 Raiders with the lead there. And the shocker, I know you people in Chicago are having difficulty believing this one, but not those up in the Twin Cities. I mean, it's ambush time up there with Jim McMahon on the sideline. The Bear offense does not move the ball. And meanwhile, Tommy Kramer has had the hottest gun in the National Football League. He leads the league in touchdown passes with 15, 1 of 2 that he threw in the early going, and Mike Ditka knows it's going to be trouble. Now, the fridge gets nailed here. This is a nasty little face mask penalty when he throws the running back down, and down came the flag for 15 points. And then Kramer went to work, and he picked up Anthony Carter. Joe, what about Tommy Kramer and Anthony Carter?
Well, Tommy Kramer has mentioned the fact that they've missed the speed that Anthony Carter has as a wide receiver. That's been the one thing that offense has lacked. They're starting to play real well now as a unit, and the addition of him is going to help tremendously.
Now, there was a great athletic move here by Greg Coleman. I mean, that punt was blocked. That was going to be a touchdown or a safety for the Bears. He got it out of there for 16 yards. They went down, and they kicked the field goal. We saw Tommy Kramer leave the field and go to the locker room. Will, what was his problem?
It looked like he got sacked right before the half, and he got up shaking his right arm, and as he walked in, he was shaking his hand. So I'm going to have to see what happens in the second half. So I guess his shoulder was injured just before they left the field.
All right, well, they'll keep us up to date out there on that. What about the Bear offense, Will?
Well, the Bear offense has sputtered because they've had only like 20 yards passing in the first half, and Fuller simply hasn't done the job.
Okay, so that should be a great second half coming up. 16-0, the Vikings with the lead right there. Bears haven't lost a division game since '84 to the Packers. Redskins lead the Cardinals 21-7. They've gone to the half there. Dallas and Philadelphia. Every time Buddy Ryan plays a team that the Bears defensed well last year, he comes up tough. And right now he's got the Cowboys held to 1 touchdown. We'll continue right after these messages from your local stations.
The Metrodome in Minneapolis, sellout crowd, and the Vikings with a 16-0 lead. 2 weeks ago, when they were shut out, the Vikings 23-0. You can see as you look at the statistics why they were. And you pointed out that first down, Hank. That is startling when you see what they've done today as opposed to 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's really amazing how unproductive they've been on 1st and 10. The other thing is, you know, they don't have Peyton in the game. You see, he's only had his hands on the ball 5 times in the first half, and he has to be able to be involved in a game a lot more than that. Of course, I mentioned earlier, they only have had the ball half as long as the Minnesota Vikings, and they really have to do something, make something happen on this drive in the beginning of the 3rd quarter.
Hank, the thought goes through your mind, are you tempted somehow to get McMahon back in there?
Well, that's a very debatable thing. It's tough, you know, when a quarterback or a player says, I don't think I can play, and I don't think I want to play. You know, you have to really study that carefully, and especially with a two-game lead. Why you figure, well, if we put him in the game and he says he's not ready to play and he gets hurt, then he misses another 3 or 4 games. So what have you done? You prolong the problem. This way he'll miss this game and hopefully be back next week, be back in business, and they're still in 1st place. So there's a lot of things to consider.
Next week it's Detroit at home for the Bears. Sanders and Gentry back as Chuck Nelson gets into this one very well. It's going to be Sanders. Sanders to the 22, and Chicago shut out in the first half. Will set it up there. Carl Hilton down the field to make the stop. In that first half, we had 3 guards alternating as Mike Ditka wants to give Kurt Becker a chance, and so he boards along with Thayer been alternating there. Look at this. 85. Lost 38-24. Of course, that was the only loss they suffered last year as they posted an 18-1 record.
You know, the amazing thing about the Bears really at this stage of the game, you know, they're only 2.5 plays from being back in the game. The way they played, it's a wonder they're not farther behind.
From the 22 now, Orty goes in motion. Here's Peyton. You talked about getting him into the game. Here he goes. And Peyton very resourcefully gets out to the 27-yard line. Scott Studwell, who the last 6 years led the Vikings in tackles, made that one.
Interesting thing about Peyton, we're going to see here a segment on
his
Walter's line. Yeah, let's take a look at that.
Well, he calls Covert the stabilizer, Bortz the strong man. He says Hilgenberg worries about everything. Led the Vikings in tackles, made that one.
Interesting thing about Peyton, we're going to see here a segment on
his
Walter's line. Yeah, let's take a look at that.
Well, he calls Covert the stabilizer, Bortz the strong man. He says Hilgenberg worries about everything. Thayer's a balancing factor. He'll take the opposite view of everything. And Van Horn's a mediator. But McMahon will go to Van Horn and he mediates between everyone else. And I asked Walter to kind of thumbnail his offensive line, and that's what he came up with. Here's Walter again. Well, you called this, coach. They want to get him in the game, but that didn't develop as he slips and goes down and loses some yardage on the play.
You got to get him in the game, but you got to block for him. You know, and that time there was no blocking. The other thing about Peyton, I started to say a minute ago, we got off on the other thing there, but I asked a lot of the great backs in the league how many times they would like to carry the ball if it was an ideal situation. Eric Dickerson says 30. Earl Campbell said about 30, 32. Walter Payton said 60. Then he laughed. He said, but really and truly, I said, well, the other thing, how many times you have to carry the ball to get really loose and get involved in the game? All the other backs said 15 times. Walter said, as long as I hit somebody or get hit, I'm ready to go anytime. I don't have to carry the ball a special number of times.
On a 3rd and 6, Fuller, and Walter can't hang on. There's a penalty flag, however. He was just about to the first down marker when that ball arrived there. Millard is pointing this against the Bears.
Number 34 is declined. 4th down.
Well, Walter was pushing off, jockeying for position. So Tommy Kramer now will get a chance to come back on the football field. He was warming up. We were told he suffered a slight twinge in that injury area, which is his right chest just below the collarbone. But boy, the way he played, he ought to get hurt more often, huh?
Yeah, man, I guarantee you, no way you get him out of this game.
Here's Buford. Buford hits a beauty. Passes back, calling for the fair catch, and he'll take it to the Minnesota 30-yard line. That's a 44-yard punt. Now, wait a minute, another penalty flag. Bob Schnelker ready to send in his offensive core, directed by Kramer, but let's see what the penalty's all about. Don't forget, game 2 of the doubleheader coming up. Most of you will see the Giants in Seattle. Those in Michigan will see the Lions and Rams. And again, Minneapolis will not receive game 2 due to our NFL contractual commitment. Had a little altercation that time between Hilgenberg and Walker Lee Ashley, and that's what this penalty's all about.
Personal foul, number 58 offense during the dead ball. 15 yards, 1st and 10.
So they will move it back to the 15-yard line.
Gary, now this is where the Bears defense have to come up and make something happen. They have to get possession of the ball or reduce the size of the field for their offense to get back in this game. I think right now the key factors in the game is going to be how well they make something happen defensively, and also they have to do some of their specialty teams to make some kind of a big play.
From the 15-yard line, Kramer, Darren Nelson, and Darren Nelson spun around and dropped. Now for an NFL Today report, let's go to New York. Here's Brent Musburger.
Gary, the Philadelphia Eagles come out in the second half against the Dallas Cowboys, and they start Randall Cunningham. They had only 3 yards passing in the first half, and he goes in from 14 yards out, and the Eagles and the Cowboys are tied at 7. Let's go back to Gary and Hank Stram.
Thank you, Brent. My partner here, Hank Stram, will be joining you in the NFL Today studio next week, as we now have 2nd down and 6 for Minnesota after Singletary made that stop on Darren Nelson. Time trying to keep it running, and here's Anderson bursting out of there, but there's another flag. Alfred Anderson, who started this game with a 37-yard touchdown catch, eventually tackled by Dave Duerson, but penalty is illegal motion against Minnesota.
I tell you, they're staying with a plan. I mentioned earlier they're going right at the Bears, again, because the Bears are so quick and fast. The best way to attack them is to go straight ahead, and they've done a terrific
illegal
job.
motion, number 81, 5 yards, still second down.
That wipes out a 20-yard game. Hank, it's interesting that they would continue to do that because you look at the Vikings statistically, they've been averaging only 85 yards a game rushing.
Well, if you're not careful, you try to go sideways too much and you pull people, and by the time you get where you're supposed to go, there's a leak and you get involved in losing yardage. You're going straight at the defense like they're doing today. There's not much can happen except, maybe no loss at all, but you're not going to lose yardage on that kind of a play.
They've had some success, and that makes your running game go, too.
Well, they're smart enough to stay with it. That's the important thing.
Second down, 11.
There it is again.
It's amazing how they're running, and it's fumbled, but the Vikings have recovered it.
See, that's the kind of a play the Bears had to come up with to get back into this game, but they didn't.
Zimmerman able to come up with his second fumble recovery of the game.
Watch Dennis Swilley, number 67. Watch him block Singletary. Here he is. He gets a good angle on him, smothers him, and the back goes right by him.
The back is Rice, by the way.
Yep, and Pinsik makes the tackle.
Hank, you just don't see that happen to the Bears very often, do you? Where there's that big of a hole up the middle. That's just not characteristic of Chicago at all.
No, it really isn't. But again, I don't know how many people. I haven't seen the Bears play that much, but I think that I don't know how many people have really gone right at them like the Vikings have done this afternoon.
First down. Minnesota now has 100 yards rushing. I don't think many people figured they'd get to 3 digits today. This time, not much going. Anderson grounded. You think all the controversy, Hank, wearing on the team a little bit, does it distract you?
You can talk about that all you want to, and I think you have to say, normally they're professional people, but they're still people. And you can't use that as an excuse to lose. You got to somehow, some way find a reason to win. But in this particular case, you get controversy. Controversy consistently has got to have some kind of a negative effect on your football team, and eventually it'll show. You don't want, in spite of that, you still have to do something to win. But right now, the Bears are not doing that.
Second down and 9 yards to go. Coming after it. Kramer reads it. Out to Nelson. Beautiful catch by Darren Nelson. That's one of the toughest catches to make in football. Locating that over your shoulder, running towards the sideline, and Nelson was equal to it. 22 yards.
Man for man on Wilbur Marshall. And again, the key is, look at their blitzing. Singletary's coming, but he still gets the ball over the top. A beautiful throw. Wilbur Marshall is covering on the play, doesn't get it done, and the Vikings come up with another big play.
22-yarder.
But here again, this is what you want. You want to get a fast back on a linebacker. And this is exactly what he does. Look at the blitzes are picked off, and he throws the ball beautifully right over the top of Wilbur Marshall, who falls into play. And another first down for the Minnesota Vikings.
Kramer now 201 yards passing. Darren Nelson skipping around. May have gotten a yard for his effort, and that's all. Bring up a second down, virtually 10 yards to go. They always felt when they drafted Nelson #1 that he would give them that great breakaway possibility. But their running game hasn't really matured to the point where he's been able to put up the big numbers. However, last year he did gain 800. And today he's done a little bit of everything, Hank. He's tested the inside, showing his courage, and showed the ability to get outside as well.
He's like trying to catch a minnow in Lake Michigan.
How about Minnesota? They've got a lot of lakes here.
Yeah, but I can't see them. Too long.
Second down. This time stuffed. Hampton's there. Otis Wilson is there. This telecast is presented by authority of the National Football League and is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or the use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Minnesota Vikings and the National Football League is prohibited. So at the 50-yard line now, it's third down. Seasonal average, you can see the Vikings have surpassed that. Averaged 9 yards on third downs today, and they're 5 of 7 on conversions. And here we go to another third down. Kramer, and he's on target. Jordan again. He is an imposing figure out there. He's got a first down to the Chicago 32-yard line, an 18-yard pickup.
Steve Jordan, number 83. There you see him coming into the middle area, gets off the ball again without anybody disturbing him. Singletary runs beyond the area, finally makes the tackle. Steve Jordan played his collegiate football at Brown. They call him Ivy.
Yeah, he's extremely bright, obviously, coming from the Ivy League. Best kept secret in the National Football League. He didn't make the Pro Bowl, and they really squeaked about it, as you would say.
Well, on the coverage that time, they were in a zone that time, and he hit the open area between the linebacker and the defensive backs. That time, they were not in man-for-man coverage.
Kramer being flushed out by Hampton. He gets rid of it, and they're going to rule it down there in the grasp. Almost intentional grounding on that one.
To a man, everybody we talked to yesterday on the Chicago team, they said we thrive on adversity. We're motivated by adversity. And let's see if they respond to the adversity in this game from here on in. Look at the pressure. Look at Hampton coming from the outside and finally puts a squeeze on him and gets the sack. Dan Hampton, number 99.
That's the first sack for the Bears. The Bears were tied with Denver for first coming into this game with 24. On the other hand, the Vikings with 4. Hampton said at the start of this year, Hank, this is going to be his best year. It's the first year he's entered a season without knee trouble. He's got some of those steps back that he had lost earlier. Putting a good pressure on, trying to lead this team from behind, trailing 16-0. Aaron Nelson on his 2nd and 25. And he'll get to about the 45, and that's all. That's Singletary and Wilbur Marshall. Marshall, who was doubtful to play today, having to play a lot because Al Harris was hurt early in the game. It's going to be 3rd down and 21.
People wonder about that 2nd and 20 call. Why didn't they throw the football? But really, realistically speaking, what they want to do is not take a chance of coughing the ball up and going back in the pocket and throwing an interception and letting the Bears get back into this game. They want to do it the hard way, make them earn everything they get. And if they make something on the run, fine, but at least they don't take a chance of losing possession of the football.
3rd down now. 21 yards to go. Lewis split to the near side. Anthony Carter to the top of the screen.
They got 1-on-1 on the right. Oh, now they change the coverage.
There's Rice in motion. Kramer on the roll. And wide open is Jordan. He is as open as you can get. And he's very close to another first down. Marshall made the stop.
I tell you, the motion created that situation that time. They sent a man in motion, and as a result, they rotated. The middle was wide. Look at the linebackers rotate. He rolls away from the rotation. The middle is wide open. Plus the fact he got all the time in the world. See? The ball has to be thrown on the hash marks or between the hash mark with that kind of coverage, and they hit it right in the button. Again, no pass rush on the play.
Marshall made the stop. Now they're going to measure to see if he got the first down. Hank, it's amazing when teams have had adversity and have struggled. Then you win an overtime game last week. You have success early, and things just fall together, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And basically what it amounts to, I think everybody likes to relate to an experience, and especially a successful experience. And so as a result, I think the Vikings last week did a great job of coming back and winning the football game. Gives them a lot of confidence, and I think they should go for the first down here, no question.
All right, that's what they're going to do. They are vindicating your decision. Jerry Burns says 4th down. They're 1-1 on 4th down today.
And if they don't make it, I'm going to boo.
You're going to boo? Take your microphone off, will you, before you do?
Look at the right side. If they run, they're going to run a quarterback sneak.
Kramer's such a competitor. He will just go eyeball to eyeball with you, and this time he takes it upon himself to try to get the first down. This is tough territory, Hank. Let's look at it again.
Well, the offensive line has to get a surge, and they just got enough to make the necessary yardage for the first down. It looks like they did. Stephen Michael goes over the top, number 76. We'll see how they mark it.
Well, they're going to measure again. You know,
it's awful close.
Visiting with Kramer, as you look at him, I was so interested, Hank, as you watch again the replay. Look at the surge there.
Look how low the refrigerator gets. He plugs things up down below, but Michaels comes up on top. And as a result, Rivera, number 59, is also involved in a play, but evidently they made the first down.
They did make it. Anyway, we were talking to Kramer on Friday, and he was in real pain after practice. Remember Clearly his arm was bothering. He was sitting there. He had a little pinch in his jaw, and he was bent over his stool. But you just had that look in his eye like, I'm going to play. If I have, one or two arms, he can't play.
Well, I think that's true. Plus the fact that I think at this stage of the season, a couple of days of rest for the #1 quarterback is a lot better than a day of work, because his arm gets fresh, he gets the old zip back, and as a result, he feels on Sunday that he's good and fresh and ready to play, and that's the way he's playing this afternoon.
Extremely well. Here is Darren Nelson. Nelson to the 10. Nelson to the 5. First and goal. Nelson coming up lane after that 16-yard run, and I don't think I've seen teams pick their way through the middle like this club is.
Look at the way they're coming off the ball. Look at the block they get on the refrigerator. Look at the way they push him back. He cuts beyond that block, underneath it, and scampers all the way down close to about the 7-yard line. Great blocking at the point of attack. And Richard Dent finally made the tackle, number 95.
But to get back to my point, Hank, it'd be a long time you'd have to go back to see teams running up the middle this effectively against Chicago.
Well, they're doing it very quickly and very efficiently.
First and goal outside the 5. Brown will get inside the 5, and that's all. Second and goal there. Singletary again on the stop.
The Vikings are not pulling linemen very often, except on a trap. That time they try to run a counter trap by pulling the left guard, and you saw what happened. There's a leak if you're not careful by pulling people, and that's why they've been so successful. Look at the puller pull, and watch the counter play, which takes a little time. By the time he gets into the hole, Brown gets into the hole, it's all over. They cave it in. And that's what happens usually when you pull against the Bears, because they're so aggressive and so quick.
From the 5, second and goal there. Kramer stepping up, little odd, and the offensive tackle, David Huffman, the tackle eligible on that play, I assume, couldn't come up with it.
No, he lines up on the side as a tight end, Gary, in this formation, so he is eligible. He's a regular. He has to report, however. And look, he's wide open. Here he comes, number 72. And he had to reach for the ball. And for a lineman to make that kind of a catch is very difficult. You got to hit him right at the numbers so he can use his body and also his hands to catch the ball. This kind of a catch is tough. Look, he has to reach way out there. He'd have to hang for the goalpost for a couple of hours to make that catch.
Well, he was leaning the other way. It made it tough. So now it's third and goal. We understand Darren Nelson suffered a cramp. He'll be back.
Look at the bump and run on the outside. They might try to go up on top.
Kramer scrambled back against the grain. He's going to make it. Touchdown. Penalty flag. Singletary is down on the play.
Personal foul. Face mask number 50. Touchdown counts will be penalized on the kickoff. Penalized on the kickoff.
Well, Singletary with a face mask violation, but also sustaining the injury. Let's see if we can pick it up, Hank.
I just can't understand why the Bears haven't done a better job of containing the quarterback, Kramer. See, he rolls to his right, then comes back to the left, and he makes the play, goes into the end zone. There's Singletary. Watch him. He grabs the face mask, and in the process is injured on the play himself. I don't know what happened. Here again, look at this. Now look at Dent coming from the outside. He's looking right. Perry is shoved out of the way, creates a big hole up the middle. He takes advantage of it, sees it, darts into the end zone. Singletary gets there a little late, grabs the face mask, and in the process is injured himself on the play.
It's hard to see how he got hurt on the play, and we're not going to speculate at all. But the crowd here booing because they saw the replay on the screen high above the Metrodome. We'll be back to check on the status of Mike Singletary. While we were away, Mike Singletary got up, walked out on his own power. They're looking at him on the far side. This is probably the most important player on this football team. You can talk about anybody on the Chicago Bear club, and Singletary has to come to your thinking as maybe the key, and we'll try to get an update on his injury. The touchdown now giving Minnesota a 22-0 lead. That was an 85-yard drive, Hank.
I tell you, it's amazing the way they're controlling the football and doing the right things at the right time against this Bear defense.
Chuck Nelson to add the point after. Well, this has been some day for Tommy Kramer. Throwing for 2 touchdowns, running for another. Nelson adding the point after. We understand that Singletary's injury has been diagnosed as a pulled groin. Well, Mike trying to walk it out. This has been a long day for Chicago. The Vikings lead it 23-0. Mike Singletary looks like he wants to continue. Hank, you talk about a complete reversal. 2 weeks ago, the Bears won 23-0, and that's what we have now with the Vikings leading 23-0.
You know, the mental approach of the game, as everybody knows, you know, is really very unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen. You never know how a team's going to react. And I think sometimes when you win as often as the Bears have won, you take winning for granted. And all of a sudden you think you're going to win just because you put the hats on and pump the balls up. And you have to earn the right to win. And so far in this game, the Bears have not earned the right to win.
Just showing up doesn't do it, right?
It really doesn't. And that's the way they're playing. They're just going through the motions this afternoon.
Nelson kicking off. And with the penalty yardage being assessed, kicks that one clear out of the back of the end zone. The drives by Minnesota, well, they've done a little bit of everything. We said Kramer's thrown for 2 touchdowns, run for 1 as they're working on that groin of Singletary. There they are, the drives of 64, 66, 70, 85. So they haven't been flukes, Hank. They've been very well engineered. So this time from the 20-yard line, Chicago with Steve Fuller would like to get on the scoreboard.
You know, the other thing about the Minnesota Vikings, going through their locker room yesterday, they had a lot of literature on the locker room bulletin board about what the Bears said about them the last time they played. And of course, bulletin boards and that copy is always good, you know, when it works. You don't knock anybody down with a newspaper clipping, but when you win and doing good, then of course you say, well, that helped us tremendously. But there was an awful lot of talk about that yesterday in the locker room.
This is the Metrodome in Minnesota in Minneapolis, the home of the Vikings. And right now, this partisan crowd is excited. Their Vikings are leading the unbeaten, the defending Super Bowl champion Bears 23-0. 3:58 left to go in the third quarter. I'm Gary Bender along with Hank Stram. And after that last carry by Peyton lost a couple of yards, we have a man injured for the Vikings. It's Gerald Robinson, their #1 draft pick out of Auburn. So while they look over Robinson, we're going to take a break. We'll be back at the Metrodome in a moment.
Do you have anything in aviation?
The Army's most technical training
Are there any openings in communications?
is also the Army's most popular training.
I'd really like computers.
So it pays to have a reservation.
Electronics.
If you qualify, you can get a guaranteed reservation for the training you want up to 12 months in advance, even if you're still in high school.
We'll see you after graduation.
Find your future in the arms.
Congratulations.
Look at this. Leather seats. Plenty of room for your stuff. Oh, thank you. What an atmosphere. Look at this place. Oh, I was on a plane last week. It was decorated an early dungeon. And the service, forget about it. I mean, you put down a steak. How do you forget the plate? Oh, I'm glad I shaved.
Rodney Dangerfield.
That's me.
My husband loves you.
Western Airlines. Now more than ever, it's the only way to fly.
Looking out for #1.
The Toyota 1-ton. No truck in its class holds more. It can even out-carry any mid-sized truck.
Looking out for #1.
Who could ask for anything more?
Canon's new personal copiers come in 4 colors and copy in 5.
Red's your color.
And this replaceable cartridge makes them simple, even for you.
Lighten up, Jack.
They are light. Here.
What a guy.
For information, call toll-free 1-800-OK-Canon.
Next Saturday, it's a battle to stay in the Rose Bowl fight when John Kay launches the Stanford Cardinal in play against the Trojans of USC next Saturday on CBS Sports.
Second down 12 now for the Chicago Bears. Paul Blair has come in and tackled now for the Bears, the rookie out of Oklahoma State. This is the black and blue division, and it's evidenced by Darren Nelson having some problems with a cramp. Mike Singletary, who injured the groin. There he is. And then just a moment ago, Gerald Robinson going off the field. They don't call it the black and blue for nothing, right?
No, they surely don't, especially when they play the game up here in Minnesota with the way these two teams have competed against each other through the years.
Fuller stepping up, throwing up the field. This is Tim Reitman, the tight end, and Reitman's across the 45 to the 46-yard line, and the Bears get a first down. Coming up next, the Giants in Seattle, game 2 of the doubleheader. Giants playing so well defensively. Last week shutting out the Eagles. Lawrence Taylor leading the NFL in sacks. It's 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central Time. Again, those of you in Michigan will see the Lions and Rams. Minneapolis will not get game 2.
The key here is they got to run just enough to keep the defense honest, but they got to get the ball downfield. And the way they're covering, the middle area should be very vulnerable.
That was the biggest gain of the day for the Bears, a 29-yarder.
They just got a pass block.
Looking for help. Suey trying to throw the block, and Walter gets to the midfield stripe. David Howard, 99, running him out of bounds there. So they move it to the 50, and it'll bring up second down, and still about 7 yards to go.
You know, I tell you, the other thing about the Minnesota Vikings defense, they're very quick, and they're very fast. And sometimes when you try to run outside too often, they meet you at the pass, and they've been doing a very good job of containing the outside plays that have been run by Walter Payton. It might be they'll have to take a little bit from their book, the Viking book, and go right at the defense when they run and throw the ball in conjunction with the run.
Everybody in there, they have 3 number 1 draft picks in that defensive line. Second down, 7. Payton in motion. Suey, little counter. Suey's going nowhere.
See, they keep going sideways, Gary, and they haven't been able to succeed at all. You know, plus the fact that the Minnesota Vikings, Floyd Peters, their defensive coordinator, is a great advocate of moving defenses from side to side, an overshift and an undershift, meaning they go toward the tight end or they shift away from the tight end. And as a result, the Bears are trying to call plays on the line of scrimmage, and that sometimes is creating a problem, I think, too, because they look like they're just a little bit out of sync. They're not doing things offensively nearly as efficiently as they normally do, and maybe that's the reason.
Boy, that's a graphic picture of what's happened today. Singletary. It's been a long afternoon for Chicago. 3rd down, 11. Fuller, Payton can't hang on. That was a bullet. Defending on the play was David Howard. Now for an NFL Today report, here's Brent Musburger.
All right, Gary, the Dallas Cowboys come back. They go 53 yards to Tony Hill. That sets up this 16-yard run by Tony Dorsett. 14-7 right now. Cowboys with the lead. Gary, Bear fans will be asking for George Schultz to come back and cover up your action pretty soon, the way the Bears are playing. Let's go back to Gary.
So the defense of Minnesota holds, and Buford has to punt the football. Handling for the far side, and they're going to mark it at the 25-yard line. The Vikings with the football, and it's been all Minnesota today. 28-yard punt that time. A new quarterback, Wade Wilson, will come in. Tommy Kramer may get the rest of the afternoon off. Well, it has been open season on Bears today. They opened it up at 12 noon, and the Vikings with a 23-0 lead. Tommy Kramer leaves the game, 239 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, also rushed for 21 yards and scored a touchdown. Kramer with a brilliant afternoon, and Wade Wilson will come in and take over at quarterback. Left to go now in this 3rd quarter. Continue to establish that running game. Alden Rice carrying the ball. Next Saturday, college football on CBS. Stanford, John Fay, the brilliant quarterback, against Rodney Peete of USC. Those of you in Kentucky will see Clemson at North Carolina State. North Carolina State pulling out a 1-point win yesterday over North Carolina. USC losing yesterday to Arizona State, and Arizona State now the inside track to the Rose Bowl.
Well, the Bears are changing their defenses, and regardless of what they do, it doesn't seem to matter. They continue to make yardage. That time they plugged it up pretty good. They were in a 4-6 defense the preceding down. That time they switched to a 4-3 and did a good job of reacting to the ball and making a play.
McMahon, who obviously is not enjoying the afternoon, along with Mike Tomczak, the number 3 quarterback. And there's the guy who's just had everything go his way. He's capable of big numbers, and today played flawlessly.
He's had a lot of big games here at Minnesota, and he's very capable, as you mentioned. He's as good as they come when he's hot.
3rd down now, 5 yards to go. Here comes the blitz, and it pays off. Otis Wilson storming over the back of Wade Wilson. That's the 2nd sack of the game now for the Bears, as you see 31 seconds left in the quarter.
That's the only way they're going to get back in this game, Gary, is for the defense to make something happen, to make them cough up the ball, get a fumble recovery, get an interception, block a punt with their specialty teams, get a punt return back. They've got to do something in the defensive area of the specialty teams to get back in this football game.
Well, that's been their personality, Hank, all the time. This is the first punt now. Coleman had one earlier, you might recall, and a bad snap ran for a 1st down.
Boy, look at the middle there. They're certainly going to kick it, but look at all the room in the middle.
Coleman. Back is Lou Barnes, and Barnes makes the fair catch at the 33. There's another penalty flag. Seems as though we can hardly have a punt without a penalty flag. That was a 40-yarder, but illegal procedure will be recorded against Minnesota. Now, we've had time expire here in the 3rd quarter, but let's sort this one out. Well, Mike Ditka said we weren't playing well. He's not going to have any trouble getting the attention of his team this week.
No, I'm sure of that. And sometimes, you know, with a team that's won and winning like this Bear team has won, sometimes they need this. You know, sometimes it's hard to understand how a win could be beneficial or a loss can be beneficial, but in this particular case, it might be just what they need to get back on the track and go to work.
Illegal formation, offensive foul at the end of the quarter. Will be penalized 5 yards. We'll start from the other end of the field, 4th down.
So we have come through 3 quarters of play with the score. Minnesota 23, Chicago nothing. We now pause for a word from your local station.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Miller High Life. Miller made the American way since 1855. And by Honda, who invite you to experience the Prelude SI at your local Honda dealer.
As we come back to begin this 4th quarter, Minnesota with a 23-0 lead, and not only are they dominating on the scoreboard, but the Vikings are dominating in every phase of this game. The statistics at the 3-quarter mark are just startling, and we're going to bring them to you and show you how completely Minnesota has dominated this game.
Watch Coleman now. He takes five yards to get the ball off. Watch this.
Having to punt again after the penalty. Not an exceptionally good punt. Barnes, no fair catch. Barnes skips to the 48-yard line of Minnesota. Carl Hilt made the stop. The play that really has put this game at a comfortable basis for Minnesota was a scramble by Tommy Kramer, Hank, and it shows you got to keep him contained somehow.
Well, you know, here he is. He rolls to the right. Hampton gets an inside position on him, so he breaks the containment. They're in hot pursuit. Singletary has to come from the middle linebacker position and make a tackle. It's too late, touchdown, and that kind of put the nail in the coffin.
And it also took Singletary out of the game with a groin pull.
But you still, you know, there's plenty of time left. If they get some big plays, they still get back in this game.
From the 48 of Minnesota after that punt. Fuller stepping up, gets it off to Moorhead, who's had a good afternoon for Chicago. Makes the catch to the 42-yard line, about 3 yards short of the 1st down. Scott Studwell made the stop. After 3 quarters in this game, Hank, the Vikings had 353 yards in total offense. Chicago 86. They had the ball almost 30 minutes to Chicago's 15. I mean, it's startling. It's one thing to get beat, but to see how they're getting beat.
Well, I think that happens when you lack intensity. They don't have any intensity at all this afternoon, and you don't play with a little fear of the opposition and a lot of respect and intensity. These kind of things happen.
From the 42 now, 2nd down and 4. Pressure coming. Penalty flag is thrown.
And that's got to be a holding penalty. Anytime he drops it in that area, it's a holding penalty.
The 5th sack of the day for Minnesota. Remember, they had only 12 coming into this game. Jim Newton, Pete Millard arriving at the point where Steve Fuller is.
See, watch the rush. Look at Robinson coming from the outside. Millard coming from the inside. I don't know who that is on the outside. Newton is getting a lot of pressure, but they cave in the pocket. That's what you call caving in the pocket. They push everybody back right into the quarterback's lap, and as a result, there's nothing you can do.
3rd down and 12. That was a very fast cave-in.
It really was.
That's interesting. They were 21-0 with McMahon starting, without him 10-6.
Now they got a double zone. They got to throw the ball inside someplace if they can, if they have time. The middle area between the hash marks and between the... they're going up on top.
Go! Touchdown, Chicago.
Man, they had double coverage, and he outran the coverage. That's what he did on that, Gary. They had double coverage on him. They expected him to throw something inside, and he ran right by both people to the touchdown. That's the kind of a play that might get him back in this game. Here it is again. Now, this time the key is they had pass protection, and he got rid of the ball quickly. Look at this. He runs right by the 2 guys, Joey Browner and Teal, runs right by the coverage. He's fast enough to run right through the coverage. Touchdown, Chicago Bears.
Just shows you, Hank, that those X's are not in the right places. Those O's go right by you, huh?
You're right.
You can have the best strategy in the world, but sheer speed will just knock it out of the way.
Well, the other thing about it is, as I talked about it earlier, even though the score is 23-6 or 23-0, you're really kind of 3.5 plays away from being back in the game. There's one of them right there.
Point after attempt now, Kevin Butler. And Butler on the hold from Fuller puts it through. It's 23-7, and the Bears avert the shutout. The last time they've been shut out was in that title game against San Francisco, but they've now gotten on the scoreboard.
Watch closely. You're looking at America's 2 leading premium beers. Because Miller High Life comes in a clear bottle, you probably think it's the lighter of the 2. But life is full of surprises. You see, Miller High Life is brewed darker from this special and expensive roasted malt. Pour them for yourself. See the difference roasted malt can make. Then compare the taste, and you just might find out what a beer made the American way is all about. Miller High Life.
Introducing Wendy's new Big Classic Hamburger.
This is the good stuff.
The soft Kaiser bun, the fat tomatoes,
This is the good stuff.
the fresh toppings, the beef.
This is the good stuff.
Wendy's new Big Classic.
This is the good stuff.
Facts and figures are one thing, but the best way to judge a Honda Prelude SI is by the seat of your pants.
Well, Coach, you said it. They're now, what, 2.5 strikes away?
2.5 plays away from being back in the game and winning the game, because really, if they get 2 touchdowns and a field goal, it's 24-23. If they dominate the line of scrimmage, hold them defensively, and get some points, they could still win this football game.
Hank, what's interesting, that missed point after the first touchdown for the Vikings could yet come into play in this game.
Yeah, it could wind up being 24-23, and the missed extra point could make the difference.
So Willie Gault, he just took all of those strategy things and just blew right by him. Speed just burns you every time.
Great illustration. There's no way in the world you're going to defense speed, and he ran right through the coverage and made the touchdown.
So Butler will now kick off. I don't think the Vikings are real sure he's going to kick deep. They've got a lot of people up, Hank.
Yeah,
a little early for an onside, wouldn't it?
No way they can kick onside. They got to kick it deep.
And
hope for their defense to do a good job. I don't think they can possibly kick the ball short.
They're not going to try to do that. They're going to place it, though, in between. There's a big gap in there. Best picks it up, and he's dropped immediately. Excellent coverage that time. That is Tom Sanders, number 20, who got down there almost as quickly as the ball.
But that's the first time, really, they looked like they were really on the attack and aggressively going down on the kicks.
So from the 16.5, the Vikings now, let's see, Wilson will stay in at quarterback. They wanted Kramer to rest that injury, the bruised chest below the collarbone, so Wilson will try to stem some of this momentum to start to switch a little bit. Still a lot of time, 13:22 left.
All the time in the world left for them to get back in the contest.
50-yard touchdown pass to Galt changed the complexion.
They got to do with some big plays defensively here again.
Wilson to Carter, and Anthony Carter has a first down. Carter is murder out there, as Hank would say, and wait a minute. Penalty flag again, and it's against Minnesota, so that'll negate that catch. An eligible man downfield, I believe, Hank.
It looks like that's what happened on the play, but I tell you, this young quarterback's got a great arm. You talk about throwing it like a frozen rope. He does it. Talking about Wade Wilson.
East Texas State. Well, Carter gives you that extra burst, that extra dimension.
Eligible player downfield, number 76, half the distance of the goal line, still first down.
That's Tim Irwin, their right side offensive tackle. But the thing about Carter, Kramer calls him the ghost because he disappears and reappears almost in a ghost-like fashion with that speed that he has in the open field.
And then, of course, once he catches the ball, he's like trying to tackle a puff of smoke.
That negates a 20-yard completion and now makes it 1st and 19. And the Bears, getting the help of a penalty now, have a chance to get this ball back pretty quick as Brown gets about a yard, and that's all. Next week, it all begins with the NFL today, and these Bears then will go against the Detroit Lions. Lions winning last week against Green Bay, or St. Louis and Dallas, and the Cardinals picking up their first win for Gene Stallings last week. Be sure now to check the local listings for the game and the time in your area. Second down, 17 for Wade Wilson. Taking Kramer out there too quickly. Here comes a blitz, and offside is Wilbur Marshall. Oh, was he coming untouched on that one? Well, they have some yardage to play with. There's Vince Tobin, the defensive coordinator, who was sending him on that play, but Vince is saying that's not the way we want to do it.
Well, you talk about anticipation. You want anticipation.
58, 5 yards, still second down.
But that's what happens, you know, if the quarterback changes the rhythm of the count. A lot of times quarterbacks have the bad habit of going on the same count, and as a result, the defense catches on. However, we used to always keep track of what the cadence was and the starting count was on the huddle, so we could always tell Dawson, hey, just change the count from 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 or 3 to whatever it might be to keep the defense off balance.
Kind of getting a rut, huh?
That's right. You will if you're not careful.
There's a handoff to Brown again. Very conservative now, the Vikings. So it's going to come to a third down and still virtually 10 yards to go. Make it 11.
With this young quarterback, they're not going to take a chance of coughing the ball up and providing the Bears with an opportunity to make an interception or get them caught back there. And as a result, the approach, I think, is going to be very conservative.
Kind of get an uneasy feeling, this crowd right now. They're kind of murmuring a little bit.
It's changing. It's changing. The atmosphere is definitely changing. And if the Bears can stop them here and get good field position, they'll be right back in this game.
Here we go. Third down, 11. David Huffman now has replaced Irwin at that offensive tackle for the Vikings, number 72.
They're playing bump and run on the outside, which is dangerous.
They didn't get the playoff, did they?
No, they changed the defense, and I think they confused the young quarterback. But again, on the outside,
5 yards, still third down.
That's what happened. The Bears confused them with their defensive alignment, but you got Carter out here one-on-one on Richardson, and if you ever a good chance to throw the ball in this situation, a high percentage kind of a pass, this would be the time to try to take advantage of the one-on-one with A.C. Carter on Richardson.
Well, delay a game 5 yards, moves it back to the 11-yard line. Now he's got a third down, 16 yards to go. Not a good situation for Wilson. There's Singletary still on the sideline. Rod Rivera has replaced him at middle linebacker since he went out.
Now they're going to say the same thing. They're going to run it, get a little bit more room to kick the ball.
And Nelson has dropped. The crowd did not like that conservative call. Nelson stopped at the 16, and Coleman, remember now, he's had some real pressure on him. We'll go back to punt this football.
Look at the teams come on and off the field. Before, they were walking on the field. Now they just ran on the field, talking about this specialty team on this particular play, which is indicative, I think, of the attitude of the team changing at this particular stage of the game.
Coleman's had one punt. One time he had to run for his life and picked up a first down. The other one at 34 yards. Snap is very good, and Coleman hits it well. Barnes back at the 31. A lot of running room. And they get back in a beautiful open field tackle by Carl Hilton. Hilton has made 3 open field special team tackles today for Minnesota. A 52-yard punt. Excellent coverage. The Bears have the football. Gary Bender, Hank Strand, the Metrodome. You see the score, you see the time left, and you get the idea that Chicago still thinks they can win this football game.
And they can if they come up with some big plays here and they pass play. If they can pass block, they can throw the ball. I guarantee you that. And they got to challenge those corners more by throwing the ball deep just like they did the last time to Willie Goff.
You see how effective they have been in the fourth quarter this year.
Look at now, they got Browner on the other side one-on-one. They ought to be able to do business over there if they maintain that coverage.
Well, they're looking that way. They dump it off to Pate. Open field, gets by Martin, and to the 40, maybe the 41. Studwell made a fine tackle, but he got Chris Martin kind of turned inside out on that one.
Yes, he did, but that's a space play, and that's the kind of a play that's good for Payton. Talking about space where he's got a lot of room with a linebacker one-on-one, and he's usually going to win that battle. And I think, they were in a strong side zone that time, meaning they were rotated to the tight end. That side of the field was wide open, either to the tight end or to Walter Payton.
Second down 6. Walter had only 10 catches coming into this game. There's a get now to Thomas, who's in at fullback, and he's gobbled up, and it's going to bring up third down. Still 3 yards to go. You talked to Walter that he has not been thrown to that much this year. He had 20 catches, I think, a year ago at this time, and had 10 coming into this one. Third down 4. 37 yards rushing, and you got to remember the Bears run the ball with the best. Number 1, 2, 3 all the time in the league standing.
But that's typical of what happens when you take away the personality of a team. This is what they like to do. They thrive on it, and today they haven't been able to do it, so they're not going to look as good. But they got to win it. When you're a great team, somehow, some way, you got to win the game. However, whatever it takes, you got to win it. Maybe a different way with a passing game. There's 3 ways you can win the game, Gary, with specialty teams, defense, and offense. And if you win 2 out of the 3, you're usually going to win the game. So far, the Minnesota Vikings are winning 2 out of the 3 because they're doing a great job offensively and a terrific job defensively.
I thought you coaches won it in the locker room.
It all depends whether you win or lose. Who gets the credit?
Here we go. Fuller asking for quiet. It's noisier than it was the previous time. He's asking for assistance from Jim Tunney to back away. This is becoming a major problem in the National Football League in these dome stadiums that holds the noise in.
I think the other thing at this stage of the game, I think it would be very important for the Chicago Bears, if they're going to throw the ball, just go up there in a quick count. You don't have to worry about any counts then. Just say we're going on shift or wherever the first sound is and get it off.
They don't get it here, Hank. They go for it on 4th down. That's a good possibility.
Yeah.
It's 42-yard line. 8:57 left to go in the game. 23-7 Minnesota. Coming into this game, the Bears, the number 1 rushing team, averaging 183. Number 3 in total offense. Just getting on the scoreboard once on the 50-yard touchdown pass to Willie Goff.
If you went up on a quick count, the defense is standing up. You catch them standing up and be able to get a free play.
Fuller just getting on here. You have a rule in college football. If you can't get the crowd quieted down, they start charging penalty yardage. And this particular time he's going to have to wait it out. What makes it so tough here, Coach, is that Fuller is so distracted by trying to get this crowd to where he can work with it I don't know how you keep your concentration to execute and get everything else going.
Well, you're right. That is a problem. But again, as I say, I think to counteract the problem is I think you basically got to just say we're going to go into first sound and get it off and get going, see? Plus the fact that I think it would have an effect on the defense because they're sitting around waiting for the rhythm of the count and anticipating that. And as a result, if you win on a quick count, you can maybe surprise them and get the ball off with any problem.
So they're going to rehuddle again. Ortego went over to the far sideline to confer with the Bears. The Dome holding in the noise. The crowd has gotten very quiet here in this fourth quarter after the Bears got on the scoreboard, but now obviously affecting this game.
See, look how slow the Vikings get down because they're anticipating a count. Boy, one of the backs in a flat would be a good play. Inside, good.
He's got him, Ortego, and Ortego has a first down catch to the Minnesota 40-yard line. Studwell made the stop.
Good shot.
Yards.
Good shot inside, and again, that time they were in double coverage, and as a result, the middle area, between the hash marks especially, is a vulnerable spot.
Ortego having a strong afternoon. As you recall, he was brilliant in the other game with the Vikings, catching 6 for 157 yards. 19-yard pickup just inside the Minnesota 40. Fuller again going over the top. Ortego, and he's covered very well by Hope. That'll stop the clock with 8:19 to go and bring up a second down and 10. Giants in Seattle coming up next. The Giants, after losing their first game of the year, have rolled through to win their last 5. Those of you in Michigan see the Lions and Rams. And again, I hate to keep pounding this into you, but you people in Minnesota and Minneapolis will not receive Game 2 due to our NFL contractual agreement. 5 sacks on Fuller, but he's still been able to throw 10 of 17 for 153 yards and a touchdown. Second and 10. Doug Martin, 6th sack of the game. And Van Horn is shaken up for Chicago.
Martin that time 79 and Robinson, both of whom got great penetration. Look at Martin coming on the outside.
Paul Blair could not contain him. He's the rookie out of Oklahoma State. And Van Horn is shaken up. We'll try to figure out what happened to Keith as they're looking him over at the 50-yard line. Already out of the game is Covert. Blair's been playing in his stead. And these two outstanding offensive tackles now are starting to get nicked up.
Giving that extra effort makes winners. Be all you can be. Sponsored by the U.S. Army. Number 33, San Francisco fullback Roger Craig is a hard worker who is equally dangerous as a receiver or a runner. Last season, Craig's never-say-die effort netted him a milestone. He became the first player in NFL history to surpass 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving. By exerting all-out effort to set a record that may never be broken, Roger Craig is the best he can be.
As Keith Van Horn now is up walking around, he's been replaced by Kurt Becker. Becker, showing his versatility, can move from a guard, will now play the tackle spot. So both starting tackles now, Covert and Van Horn, are sidelined. We have Paul Blair, the rookie, 4th-round draft pick out of Oklahoma State, and this man, Becker, 79, starting at the tackles now. Becker was hurt a year ago in the Metrodome, hurt his knee and was out for the whole year. Come back this year and is playing the guard and tackle spots for Mike Ditka. 3rd down now, 16 for Chicago. They've given up 6 sacks, which matches how many they've given up in the first 6 games. Lou Barnes in motion. Fuller, pressure coming.
Tim Newton, 96.
The icebox. Dumping Fuller.
Boy, I tell you, he's like a destruction ball coming through there. He's low slung, strong, and Jerry Burns said I'd put him up against any other lineman in the league in a 40-yard sprint. Watching numbers 96, the left tackle. Watching him come up the middle here now. He's got great leverage. Low slung, and there he is. Comes up high and makes the tackle. Here's a body slam.
What really made that work, Hank, was Robinson and Martin put the pressure on outside, and here comes Newton up the middle. And so Buford has to get rid of the football. And we have another penalty flag. Why not? It's a punt. We expect that, don't you? But
illegal motion offense.
So that's going to be against Chicago. Hank, one thing you got to know, the Vikings knew that Covert and Van Horn are out of there. So you got to make hay while the sun shines, right? That old expression, and they did. They came after him.
But the way they played all afternoon, Gary, you know, it didn't seem to matter who was in there. The way they rushed the passer, the way they controlled the line of scrimmage, it was awesome.
Look at that. 7 sacks after 6 of the first 6 games.
Yep.
Steve Fuller is going to have a very, very stiff and sore Monday. There's the icebox. We mentioned that he was the Sports Illustrated Defensive Lineman of the Week for his play last week against San Francisco. 286 pounds. They list him at 6 foot. He had 11 solo tackles, 6 assists, and a sack last week. He came up with just this last sack.
He's a snootful. There's no question about that.
Best on the fair catch, 18-yard line, 7:41 left, 39-yard punt that time by Maury Buford. And so the Vikings protecting this 23-7 lead and protecting it with some outstanding defense on that last series. But you get the feeling the Vikings need to get their offense back on track now. Hank, take some of that pressure off the defense.
Well, I think they're going to be satisfied to just try to control the clock as much as they can, not make a mistake, kick the ball, and let the Bears play with it. But they're not going to try to reduce the size of the field for them. I guarantee you that.
Well, you called it very conservative. Darren Nelson picking across the 20 to the 22-yard line. It's awfully hard, Hank. It never ceases to amaze me how tough it is for teams to protect leads. They get so conservative, they start going into their shell, and more often than not, it backfires on you.
Well, I think in this particular case it's kind of justified because they got a young quarterback. If they had Kramer, they might have used a different approach, but why gamble? Why take a chance? Because you're ahead in the ball game. You don't want to, again, provide the Bears with an opportunity to get an easy score, and that's what the mentality is at this stage of the game, I'm sure, for the Minnesota Vikings.
Darren Nelson, 58 yards now, 13 carries. Second down, 6, and they're going to come out of there, and very close to a first down is Ted Brown. Going to bring up third down, about a yard to go. The veteran Brown, 8th-year man out of North Carolina State. He's had some brilliant games. He had 179 yards in 83 in a game, and in 81 he caught 83 balls. They like him, Hank, for his versatility, and he's very bright.
Yes, he is.
He adjusts well.
And of course, you know, with the adjustments and all the things you have to do on the route, on the move, why, that part of it is very important.
Third down, a yard. The Bears need to stop him here. Everybody jumping up on that line of scrimmage. Wilson, and I don't know, good second effort. May have gotten it. That's just a beautiful job that time.
Eddie Brown.
Yep. And to the 30-yard line, first down.
Watch it now. The surge is on the left side of the offensive line. They get a good push. And watch Brown, who is a better performer. He gets nailed here, but he maintains balance and backs his way into the secondary, beyond the line of scrimmage, I should say, for the necessary yardage for the first down.
You see Darren Nelson, he just threw his body into that. And again, he's not very big, but it might have been the difference. Brown following him through the hole for the first down. Here comes the blitz. Did they get back? Nope, penalty flags. Boy, Wilson got back because Otis Wilson hit him. But I think they were offside.
Yeah, they definitely were offside. And at least it looked like they were from here.
Their timing's been off, hasn't it, defensively? That's
well, you know what they're trying to do? They're trying to conceal the blitz as long as they can, and then they predetermine when they're going to go, and they have to wait. They have to wait for the snap of the ball. They're trying to anticipate the count, and they're missing the count. That's what's happening.
Offside defense, number 55, 5 yards, still first down.
But you talked about how they struggle defensively, and I think characteristic of that is their timing. It hasn't been what it usually is. Because when they come after you, you feel like the whole roof is caving in on you, and you don't see it coming until the last second. But today it has not been disguised that well, and their timing has been off.
You know, I was talking to Jim Dooley on the field before the game, and he even said, you know, this team, we don't really have a consistently solid, sound offensive personality. We rely so much on the defense to get the job done for us. If they don't get it done, we're in trouble. And it wound up that, we were just talking, but it winds up being he was very prophetic, because that's exactly what happened here this afternoon. The defense didn't play like they normally play.
Brown on that 1st and 5, picking up 2. Next Saturday, mark this down, the Trojans of USC. Rodney Peete. It's an outstanding scrambling quarterback, and John Pay. You'll see him playing in the National Football League in the tradition of great quarterbacks at Stanford. Or some of you will see Clemson against North Carolina State. Clemson coming on strong after an earlier setback, and North Carolina State with a 1-point win yesterday over North Carolina. 2nd down, 4. Nothing doing this time, and it's a 3rd down. Line of scrimmage, the 35. Allen Rice carrying the ball, and he just disappeared from sight. Well, this Minnesota team, if they hang on and win here, they'll move a game within Chicago. They'll go to 5-2. Next week they play the Cleveland Browns here, and Jerry Burns' team is very much in the title picture, and obviously, for nothing else, a wild card spot.
And if they were going to play Cleveland, they'd much rather play them at home. Naturally, they'd rather play on synthetic turf than grass.
3rd and 5. Jerry Burns, love to see that clock tick away a little faster, I'm sure. Wilson giving off to Brown, and it'll bring up a 4th down. Brown to the 37-yard line. Timeout now called by Chicago. Vince Tobin now expecting to have the ball turned over to the offensive side. Vince's brother Bill, also in the Chicago Bear organization. Vince did such an outstanding job in the USFL with the Philadelphia Baltimore Stars. They won 2 title games, got into the championship game a 3rd year, and they allowed the fewest points of any teams in the USFL, and he was the architect of that defense. Well, Mike Ditka, if he had any further convincing to do that his team was not playing the way he wanted to, he got some really support in this one.
Well, I think what happens is, you hate like the devil as a coach to say, listen, I've been telling you guys all along that you haven't been playing up to your capability, and you didn't believe me. Now you understand what happens when you don't play like you're supposed to play. And of course, that should be a great selling point to the rest of this team from here on in.
Well, Gary Fensick made a good point yesterday. He says it's not as much fun this year. Last year everything was new. It was a new horizon. This year everybody's out to get us. That's what makes it so tough to repeat.
Well, he said last year it was novel. The pursuit of the Super Bowl was novel, and this year the challenge is totally different than that everybody expects you to win, so the challenge is a lot tougher.
Here's Coleman. Beautiful punt. Barnes to the 20. Has a little alley. 25, and brings it out to the 30-yard line. Lou Barnes stopped by Walker Lee Ashley. 51-yard punt. 17-yard return. With 3:28 left. A little discussion going on at the 30-yard line. And so the Bears, not a lot of time left, and they have 2 timeouts remaining. Well, one thing about Ditka that I've admired, Hank, is that he seems to have a genius about sensing attitude and sensing ability of players, and he sensed this coming. I had a feeling in talking to him yesterday that he was very uneasy about the game, and that followed on the heels of winning 6 in a row.
Well, I think basically, the basic scheme when you're coaching is that when you're winning, you have to worry and make your squad feel
number 20
that they have to play better, they have to play harder, and whatever you have to do, but you have to be tougher when you're winning than when you're losing. And I think Mike has done a good job of that, but you can just talk so much, and sometimes it just goes in one ear and out the other. They don't believe it until something like this happens, and then they understand what you're talking about.
Personal foul against Sanders, so the Bears will start from the 15-yard line. Fuller play action, setting up the screen. Suey's got it. Suey is going to struggle just about to the 20-yard line and pick up a 4, maybe 5. There's Joey Browner. Haven't called his number very much, Joey Browner, and that's because Their strategy, Hank, was to split Moorhead or the tight ends out and get him out of the play.
But the way it turned out, you know, they split him and got him out of the game, but they didn't need him.
Well,
talking about the Vikings, they didn't really need him in the game where the rest of their defense performed because they really have dominated the game defensively.
They're talking about Browner so strong, has the strongest hands since Alan Page, and some of that karate background that he has precipitated that. Here is Fuller throwing to Ortego, come back to the ball, and he's got it. Ortego, who's had a strong performance again today. When you talk about genius, Mike Ditka kept this guy. Some people thought they should have kept their third-round draft pick, David Williams, but he saw something in Ortego, and he's certainly been vindicated. That's a 15-yard pickup.
Well, that takes a lot of courage in itself sometimes, because if you draft somebody 3, you want to make sure to a lot of people that you did the right thing by drafting him 3, and you keep him sometimes, even though he's not as good as somebody else who you got as a free agent. Mike had the courage and conviction to do what he thought he had to do to make his team better, and that's why Ortego is on the squad.
Again, showing some of the things that Ditka has done and done so brilliantly. That 15-yard pickup now has moved the ball to the 34. They're waiting on a replay on this one, Hank.
Replay stands, first down.
The replay has vindicated them and has said that it was complete. What are the 3 words they use, Coach?
They're using reversal, confirmed, and inconclusive. And I talked to Art McNally before the game, and they have a new system today. They have the umpire with a microphone, and they can communicate from the bleachers, from the press box to the field, which they haven't been able to do in the past. And if it is a reversal, they say it 3 times. Reversal, 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 and then they make the play.
Moorhead can't hang on. Incomplete at the 2:14 mark. Well, the score is 23-7, and these statistics will show you why the Vikings are winning. 37 yards for the #1 rushing team in the NFL. The Vikings 25th in the league in rushing coming in. The time of possession, absolutely beyond belief. You just wouldn't expect it at all.
It's funny how these things happen to a team that wins. We one year went up to Buffalo with a very good football team with a good record and got murdered. Really got murdered. We couldn't have won a new squad game that night. But we bounced back the next week and played very well from there on in. It's hard to explain why they happen, but it does.
Suey on the receiving end of that. A couple of yards short of the first down. It's going to bring up 3rd down, a yard to go. And the 2-minute warning is here.
The only thing about this kind of a game from the Bears standpoint is, even though they played poorly, in spite of that, they're going to still wind up being in first place.
We'll be back after this 2-minute warning. 2 minutes to go. Minnesota, they 23-7 lead. Coach, we've talked a lot about emotion. We've talked about distractions. This week there was a lot of controversy about Jim McMahon. He came out publicly and did not like the Doug Flutie acquisition. How much of a factor can you put into a game like this?
Well, I think if it was a close game, Gary, very honestly, it'd be brutally frank. I think if it was a close game and the team played better, then I think maybe that could have been a factor. But the way they played today, maybe they played today like they did because McMahon didn't play in the game, but I think the way they played today, it wouldn't have made much difference because they were never in this game.
Anyway, with now less than 2 to go, the Bears in a hurry-up situation picked up the first down as we come back. That was Suey carrying. They have a first down at their own 47-yard line. Fuller with pressure from Doug Martin. Kicks loose and overthrows Suey. Doug Martin has really, in this 4th quarter, been tough. They have not been able to block him. Of course, he's the younger brother of George, the defensive end for the New York Giants. And Doug, who was the NFC Defensive Player of the Month for September, has been giving Paul Blair fits. Blair, the rookie out of Oklahoma State, just having a tough time trying to stay with him. Good bloodlines there, huh? Doug and George are a pair of 22 brothers. Sets of brothers playing in the National Football League. There's 3 sets of brothers represented in this game. Back to the throw is Mike Tomczak, the quarterback. Mike gets a block, dives, doesn't quite get the first down. Keith Van Horn now on that last play getting up slowly. There's what McMahon had going for him. 21-0 without him, 10-6. Now, Tomczak has started 2 previous games. Fuller, of course, starting today.
See, I think the other consideration is very easy to say. You know, they lost because McMahon didn't play. But you got to understand that McMahon was not able to play because he's hurt. And as a result, for him to try to play in a game where he's not fully efficient, you know, I don't know what good it would have done. And I think that's the issue here today. I think that probably, you know, had he been totally well, certainly he would have made a big difference. But under the circumstances, he wasn't well, and I don't know how much a difference that would have made for him to play hurt.
Pass intended for Gentry, and he is really belted that time by Carl Lee. Well, I think the Vikings all week long were suspicious, thinking that they would have a replay of a year ago when McMahon came off the bench. They were trailing 17-9. His first 2 passes went for a touchdown, but he just wasn't capable of doing it this time.
And the difference last year, he pleaded with Mike Ditka during the course of the game to put him in the game. He wanted to play in the game. In this game, there was no semblance of that at all. He did not want to play in the game. He didn't feel he was capable of playing, and that's the difference.
It was his recommendation. 4th down now. Tomczak try to keep this one going, and he will. Good charge that time by Matt Suey. Another first down for the Bears. 1:18 left to go in the game. 60 minutes tonight on CBS. Mike Wallace and the first interview with the captured American in Nicaragua. Was he working for the CIA? He says he was. Tonight on 60 Minutes, that'll be coming your way, followed by Murder, She Wrote, starring Angela Lansbury, and a CBS movie of Pure Blood, starring Lee Remick and Patrick McGowan. 1 timeout left now for the Bears after this timeout. 1:06 left in the game. Tomczak has been a quarterback that, in the estimation of Ditka, has been good or bad. He's been hot or cold. He's had some very good moments.
And the great thing about a guy like Tomczak and also McMahon is the fact that they move so well that they escape a lot of that pressure that they got today. And that, of course, makes a big difference.
Hank, let me ask you something. What do you think about Doug Flutie? Is he a viable alternative? What do you think his chances are in the NFL?
Well, you know, I'm prejudiced because I like little guys. We had a lot of little ones on our football team, but I think I've seen enough of Flutie where, you know, he's got the intangible qualities that you seek and you can't explain, you can't coach. The guy's a winner. I've seen him do so many unusual things in the United States Football League and also in college football. I think it's a great move, and I think he'll make a contribution to the Bears down the line somewhere.
Talking about Doug Flutie, there now is an update on what's happening. By the way, Green Bay winning their first game today, beating Cleveland 17-14. But Chicago now has a 1-game lead. Of course, Chicago now will play Detroit. Detroit would like to close in a little closer, and these Minnesota Vikings get a shot at Cleveland here. Both teams at home next week. Last week, or I should say last year, Chicago clinched the division the 11th week of the season. From the 42, first down, Suey comes in motion. Tomczak on the sprint out. As Bortz ahead of him, throws, and it's off the hands of Galt, and we have another penalty flag. Thrown a little to his hip, his backside.
Did you see the block that Walter Payton made? There's a great illustration of why he's such a great player, a team player. Here the score is what it is, 23-7, and he goes out on a rollout and throws a beautiful block to help Tomczak get outside.
That's a clip, though, against Chicago. Yeah, 1-11, and you're down 23-7. He's still blocking people. That says something, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
His durability, Hank, is just absolutely beyond belief. To think that a guy like Payton, in his 12th year, gained over 20,000 yards in total yards, over 15,000 yards rushing, and he's always ready to answer the bell.
Well, I asked about that yesterday, and he said...
Personal foul, clipping, number 68.
He said...
Still first down.
He said conditioning. He said once I get through with all the activities and all the things I'm committed to after the season, I start in May, and I work out anywhere from 4 to 6 hours a day to get ready for the upcoming season, and that's why he has been such a durable performer.
Today, only 28 yards on 9 carries. The first game against the Vikings, he had 108 yards, one of his 3 100-yard days of the season. Suey in motion after the penalty now, 1st and 25. It was against Paul Blair. Tomczak throwing, Moorhead intended for it, picked off. That's Holt. And Ike Holt with his 4th interception of the year.
Jerry Burns and all of his coaches an awful lot of credit for the way this team has played today.
I'll tell you, Hank, Minnesota's going to be very, very tough the rest of this year. This is a real springboard for them.
Well, the reason, again, as we talked about at the beginning of the show, anytime you have big play guys, lightning guys like the people they have, they can lick you with one play, and they're dangerous, and they can win any time, you know, against anybody, providing they're playing the kind of football they're capable of playing, especially defensively like they did today.
Jerry Burns said this is not a rebuilding year. He says, I'm not going to let the players use that as a crutch. He was thinking they could turn around their 7-9 record and maybe go to 9-7 or 10-6, and that, with the win today, certainly gives them a shot at that. So Burns, who waited so long, Burnsy as they call him, very satisfying win for him as Darren Nelson out trying to kill some time, and he's going to be shoved backwards. Look out, that's going to be a penalty. Wilbur Marshall. Wilbur Marshall, a little extracurricular activity there, and that's going to cost him.
That's a little bit of frustration coming out too, I think.
I think Ditka wants to talk to his guys now. He may, I think he may get Marshall out of there, huh?
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 58.
That's what he's doing.
Mike's not going to put up with that.
No, he got the hook and got him out of there.
Huh. You know, as tough as this guy played, he still won't put up with that. He was one of the hardest playing guys that ever played the game.
You know, in 1960, I met him as a player when he was playing for Pittsburgh. They played TCU. I was coaching the Dallas Texans. I met him after the game. And just quickly, I thought, boy, this guy's a tough guy. He's a very emotional guy, but he's very honest. He was very polite and very respectful, and he still is the same kind of a guy today.
Boy, I tell you what, this is going to be some week of practice for Chicago. Looking at the face of Mike Ditka, going to be no monkey business this week. I think maybe he's got their attention now.
He'll have it.
That's 95 yards of penalties against the Bears. 10 different penalties. Here's Wilson just dropping to the turf. Chicago has one timeout left with 45 seconds. Don't forget, game 2 of the doubleheader. Most of you will see the Giants in Seattle. Those in Michigan, the Lions and Rams. Lions, of course, now thinking they can make up some ground if they could win today. Minneapolis will not receive game 2. But this is going to be a happy Twin Cities crowd here today, this capacity crowd. Beautiful Indian summer type day here in Minnesota, and they come and watch their home team play a very good football.
Well, they deserve to be happy because their team played beautifully this afternoon and deserved to win as convincingly as they did, because the Bears were not what they usually are this afternoon.
And so the Vikings move to 5-2, very much in the Central Division race, as Jerry Burns in his rookie year has ended a 6-game losing streak at the hands of the Chicago Bears. Once again, the final score, Minnesota 23, Chicago 7. Coming up next, game 2 of our NFL doubleheader, the Giants at Seattle or Detroit at the Los Angeles Rams, for those of you in Michigan. Those of you in Minneapolis will not receive game 2. Now for Coach Hank Stram, I'm Gary Bender saying so long from the Twin Cities. CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League will continue after these words from your local station.